Good morning and welcome to today's live show. We got some daily expected moves for today, and over on Patreon we actually have daily expected moves for all the stocks that we like to cover on this channel and some more. So if you have some expiration today, it might be a good chance to go try out that Patreon, right? It's only $7. You can give it a try for a whole month. You can maybe even take it into next month, right? If you buy it now, towards the end of the month, you'll get updated monthly expected moves for February. Now, we are approaching an area where things look really, really juicy to possibly short, right? Everyone likes to short when things are going up and up and up and up because you get that mentality of, oh, this thing has to come back down. The only problem with that is you are in a short squeeze, so this thing can continue. Eventually, it will pull back, though, and that's the real opportunity. It's just hard to pinpoint exactly when that is. I would say it is likely to come throughout the next few trading sessions. But we can notice here that the 2-hour is extremely up there into overbought territory. The MACD is extremely up there. And so we are looking for the next possible opportunity to see the next move higher. The way that we know that this isn't going to be some kind of pullback that's able to curl back up into positive territory is if it is aggressive, right? If it is slightly aggressive, that is where we will be paying attention to. There we go. That is where we will be paying attention to the daily MACD. If the daily MACD does cross down, that would be a form of divergence. Do I think that is the most likely thing, or do I think this is going to continue? I think as of right now, your 2-hour chart is telling you that this is most likely to continue, and you always want to be open to this might not be the point where we top. We might need to see something a little bit crazier into the future. So we will be paying attention to how this market wants to fall down, how it wants to go up. And right now, the most likely thing would be patience. Patience is your friend. We planned this out. We saw the signals in here for a good trade setup. We saw the signals in here for a good trade setup. We saw the good signals in here, except around here. And here we started to go, okay, now we're really forming that base. We're most likely going to squeeze. Ended up taking place, targeted the next week weekly expected move. We have gotten there. 611.03 is where we overall said that we could see this market going by the end of January. And look where we are. We are at 611.03. How fun is that? But the job is not done because now we have to say, okay, the plan is done. Where's the next opportunity? I believe the next opportunity will show its face in the next few days, but we have to be patient for it. That could be brief. It could be sideways. It could be down slightly to retest the 5, but let's just keep our heads on a swivel and make sure that we're not doing anything rash. This is a very, very bullish market. You are obviously in positive gamma, so this is going to be very difficult to tear down right away. Now, if you were paying attention to that Japanese data yesterday, the inflation rate year over year, supposedly supposed to come out at 3.2. Very interesting because the previous was 2.9. So that's immediately an increase. But it actually came in at 3.6 for the Japanese inflation rate year over year. So what do you think they did a few hours later? The BOJ interest rate decision, what do you think they did? Yeah, they raised that bad boy. Now sitting at 0.5, which was expected. And with that coming in at 3.6, I'm almost like, holy crap, they could have done probably more because that is a huge increase. That is a 20% increase in a month, and that is pretty insane. So we're paying attention to some things today, but we're mainly just going to do everything that we always do. I think doing everything that we always do, paying attention to the risk, understanding the plan from this standpoint. Do you understand your plan from this standpoint? Because the plan for me is, hey, don't do anything crazy here. I could maybe go buy some volatility if I really want to take a trade. We noticed that volatility overnight actually dipped down. That was into yesterday, but it actually dipped down to lower levels. And then we see forms of divergences here, but that doesn't mean that we can't go make another dip lower. We have tapered off. We could come down to that point again before we want to head to the upside. What would add some credibility to this happening before we get a 2-hour pullback? Well, if we go look at things, right? If we go look at things like Amazon, hey, that could make a very simple divergence here. Could we go look at things like Nvidia? Hey, that could go make a very simple divergence here. Nvidia, you I want to be a little cautious. We had dramatic selling at these highs. So we want to be a little cautious here and make sure that if we are seeing that 2-hour pull down, it is able to curl back up into positive territory. You do not want daily charts rolling over for these things. Now we will notice a couple other stocks like Microsoft, same thing, right? So we're getting some signals here that could say, yeah, volatility looks like it wants to form some kind of base, but we could still make that one more move higher. And we do notice that the dollar has dropped off dramatically, and you're going, oh my goodness, people are getting out of cash and moving into assets. But as of right now, look at this down here. That is able to curl up. You would have some forms of divergence there. If you pull this out to a 4-hour, you're going, that has divergence there as well. Not showing on the RSI at the same time, so I will be leaning towards a retest and that to fail at this moment. We will see, though, if that can whip back around. That would mean that we're most likely heading into a more volatile time. One thing I wanted to point out was yesterday, a lot of people saying, oh, oil's going to come down, oil's going to come down, oil's going to come down. What were we saying? We were saying, yes, oil's coming down. Watch if it catches itself soon, because it could set up another point of divergence. And now you click on that RSI, you see that point of divergence, and you go, oh my goodness, could this reverse back around? You pull up a 4-hour chart and you go, oh, this could just be some kind of, you would say this is one move. Maybe we end up seeing a second move for some kind of bounce, and then we end up in that downward direction. Now, this will be very important when talking about yields, because a lot of the time oil actually follows yields. So we noticed that the oil started to come down. What happens shortly after that? Well, it might have actually been before, but before that, actually, I think the yield came down first. So now the yield reacting up. So what is oil very likely to do here? Well, we might get that reaction up. And weirdly enough, for the 10-year yield, you have some pretty good structure here. You have the point where you're reacting up to a breakdown area. We love to see it. But you're holding up pretty damn well. And if you're able to break through here, you might be starting a whole new uptrend because you have gotten that retest of the 5. So be cautious in these areas is what it says, because the other thing that follows the 10-year yield a lot of the time, at least throughout the last 6 months, I would say, at least most of the time is following each other, is the dollar and the 10-year yield. So the dollar, the 10-year yield, and oil have been pretty in tandem. I would say the dollar and the 10-year more in tandem than oil at this point, but we will see. I think oil does react afterwards, while the dollar and the yield usually react pretty close together. So we'll see if the dollar can base out here. It would tell us, let's just be a little bit cautious going into these areas. I do not want to be taking long positions up in these areas, maybe if you're a day trader or something like that, but I would more so be leaning towards, and am I even talking right now? I gotta remember to check that. But I'm just leaning towards, hey, what's the simplest, easiest, most calm thing that I can do as a trader in this position, as someone who had a good trade and doesn't want to ruin those profits? Well, I don't want to overtrade by thinking, okay, now I can short some kind of pullback. Well, I'm in a short squeeze, so the better decision in my mind would be, hey, let's make sure this 2-hour is able to curl back up into positive territory at some point and just practice a little bit of patience. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that information. Hopefully you guys are watching the YouTube videos and watching them all the way through, because if you didn't watch it all the way through, you're not getting the full take. You're not getting the full analysis. Even if you want to, watch the SPY and the Qs, watch a stock that you pay attention to, watch a couple of them, and then go over into the end of the video where we talk about volatility or the dollar and 10-year yield and things like that, because it is important to pay attention to that. The volatility index, the VIX, can give us serious hints of what is going on. As we don't see anything really here for the SPY, we can look at volatility, we can see the divergence, and now we can make that plan of, hey, we could go down for that dip, so let's pay attention if the SPY makes some kind of little 30-minute divergence today. And the best part about that is we have levels for you to pay attention to. As of right now, the daily expected move for today, which we do have these out on Patreon for the individual stocks on the right side of your screen over here. Well, we notice that 612.47. We do not have the biggest range, 607.03. So the fact that these ranges are getting smaller I wonder if the volume will be kind of light today. We will see. And then the Qs, we want to give you those daily expected moves as well. We notice that the Q is holding up right there at the open, straight at the close from yesterday, 536.51 to the upside, 528.77 to the downside. We do not see major daily expected moves. So the best part is, if I'm still holding on to Amazon and I see this MACD curl up, where's it very likely to see resistance? At that daily expected move. So very, very helpful stuff over there. We've given out a lot of information this week over on Patreon, a few videos, a couple little things with volatility just to pay attention to as we reach weekly expected moves. It's been a very fun week, and overall, it's been kind of like, yeah, if you weren't in it at the lows, it's just like the only thing you have is if you're waiting for structure at any time, it's kind of like you couldn't do that. And it was more like this. Went like that, broke through, and you got to just be like, okay, I'm in a squeeze at this point. I'm targeting the weekly expected move. I hope everyone's having a good day out there. And then we do get more data in the morning. So just so you are aware, this morning, we do get the composite PMI. So you'll get a bunch of the flash PMIs there. And then at 9 a.m., we'll actually get existing home sales. So we're going to be paying attention to that. All right, things are opening up. Let's put it over on the SPY. SPY opening up in the upward direction, about to hit our pretty much the ultimate target of 611.03. We will notice that the 5-day moving average is catching up here. So look at that starting to catch up. That sideways price action allowed the 5-day to catch up just a little bit, seeing more positivity. Can we make a reversal signal today? That will be the big issue. But yes, we do have some data straight away in the morning, so we will be paying attention to it. And as of right now, it looks like some hedging is going on with volatility. As it stands, it seems that I'm noticing in some of the options data that some values are increasing slightly there. So it just means some people are hedging. It's not a big reaction by any means, but it is just showing me, okay, somebody's hedging in this area. And I think that's the right thing for people to do if they have long positions going months ahead, right? 6-month positions, a yearly position or something like that that they decided to buy at the low there. Well, they're going to maybe hedge those positions at this moment by buying some volatility, but we'll see. Thank you guys for being here today. Make sure to leave a like on the stream. We want this stream to get to more retail investors, and you can help us do that. If you have been here and you have found anything helpful in this stream and you think that it could help other people, here's what you can do. Do yourself a good service right now and just hit that like button, because it can help reach more people if we get a lot of likes. And if you stick around and just talk to us, right? Start commenting, start chatting. If you're a lurker and you enjoy the information, hey, I get it. Make sure to pop in and say good morning to your fellow traders, all right? Thank you guys so much for being here. Let's have a nice day. Who's down for a nice day? All right, let's look at the chat, see what you guys are chatting about. FOMC on Wednesday. Yes, looking into the week ahead is a good idea, now I got to change some settings here. I actually changed some settings, so give me one moment here, and I want to unselect that. Okay, so going into next week, we will get durable good orders at 7:30 a.m. for me, right, Central Time, so an hour before the open on Tuesday. We will get the consumer confidence from Japan on Tuesday as well, but Wednesday, we will actually get the 30-year mortgage rate. We will get the Fed interest rate decision and the Fed press conference. So Wednesday is going to be a pretty important day. And then as we go forward into the 31st, we will be getting the core PCE price index. We will be getting the personal income and personal spending. So we do have some data coming out next week. It looks like we should be marking off Wednesday. Wednesday is probably a pretty important day. If we wanted to, you can do this just to remind yourself. You can go to a daily chart and just be like, okay, where's Wednesday? Wednesday's right here. I need to be paying attention. And this will be an important date for us, but we don't need to mark that off, guys. We know Wednesday, hump day. Let's just be paying attention. If we keep heading in the upward direction before that, I'm a little bit worried of a big sell the news event. It seems a lot of people are making some big bets right now, so we'll see what happens. Looks good though. So yeah, some good data coming out next week, some decent little bits of data, but pretty important with the Fed interest rate decision and the Fed press conference. And then straight away after that, we get GDP. So GDP, the previous 3.1, consensus is supposed to be at 2.7, forecasted to be 3, so maybe expecting that to come down a little bit. I don't know why, but one of my obsessions to like chill out at night now is to watch old Pokemon speedruns. And it's been pretty fun. Bitcoin, wanted to talk about that for a second because Bitcoin, very interesting look as of right now. Now, what I've done with Bitcoin here is just pull up a 2-hour chart. And obviously, when this starts to happen, what do you want to see? Well, right now, what are we seeing? Like, let's just dictate that. Well, we saw a good run, and then we experienced some volatility with some big moves, medium moves, small moves. And so what's going to happen? Most likely a big move is coming for Bitcoin. Which direction will that be? Well, what we can do is maybe draw up some lines here and just make sure that we're seeing things pretty clearly. So what we're seeing here is the contraction, right? We went through that period down here. You can see that from your Bollinger Bands. We went through this period where we spread out. Then we get really, really tight. Then we spread things out. Then we get really, really tight again. So we're getting really tight in here. A big move most likely coming. I would be looking for, hey, if that 2-hour crosses down, what's the most likely thing to happen? Hey, we might break this to the downside. If that 2-hour can turn back up, we might need to react because we might be going to the upside. So this is where you really just want to see a break of the triangle and see if this thing's able to make another upward move. I would look at a 4-hour chart as well and notice that that has crossed up. So as of right now, you have a 2-hour that is not crossed down, correct? Yes, 2-hour is not crossed down. You have a 4-hour that's crossed up saying, hey, I want to make the next upward move. Okay, so as of right now, this is slightly leaning towards the bulls. Slightly leaning towards the bulls with a continuation here. So I'd just be paying attention to that. We can look at the state of the market and see if that's going to affect Bitcoin. If we look at the state of the market, we'd say they need a pullback. So if Bitcoin wants to pull back, hey, the 4-hour might turn down here, and I'd really be paying attention to that. We just want to be making sure to manage risk at all times. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. We're doing good. Like, this stuff has been great. Like, we cannot complain too much about this market so far. We really can't. We executed the plan super well off of those lows. A lot of option calls on MSTR. What has MSTR been doing? We haven't looked at that in like all week. We haven't looked at this. See, this is that test of the original breakdown from the flagging. So that is interesting. That is interesting. Now that's on a 4-hour chart. I like my 2-hour charts. Okay, this is what I was worried about. You do have that flat divergence on the RSI. Okay, so with the flat divergence on the RSI, it might just mean to us, hey, this might need to back off for a bit, but we want to see this thing whip back up. If this thing keeps confirming down, it kind of starts to go, okay, if that daily crosses down, this is bad, right? This might not be just a 1, 2, 3, right? This might not be an ABC. We might have a 5th wave push here. Because if we're really looking at this, it's pretty, I mean, I wouldn't say that's very controlled. I would say there's a way for this to break down. There's a way for this to break down. And I think a good confirmation of that would be if you're going to test this low, maybe even go make a new one, maybe head down to 266, or sorry, 226, 266 would be up in here. If we're going to do that, you're probably going to see this MACD cross down. You're going to see this cross down in some way. You're going to see the price actually be able to close below the 9 and the 20 as those are really close. I would like a closure below both. I think that would be great. But for the time being, the 2-hour is in a positive trend for MSTR. So because it's holding up pretty well here, maybe we don't see that right away, right? This is just something to be aware of, but you notice we are in a positive trend. So if we can see an upward move, that would mean the 2-hour needs to confirm the next move higher. Tina, as of right now, suffering. What the heck's happening with IWM over here? IWM, remember, this is why we're looking for that potential for a little minor trend top here, some kind of 2-hour pullback. It's just because we're running our head into these weekly expected moves. We're running our head into the weekly expected moves. People are overall getting a little bit more bullish. We're seeing volatility drop off. We're seeing the PCC continue to come out a little bit lower, right? Going to the call side, pretty much right at the moment where you're not supposed to, right? We're getting readings of 0.63, 0.66, 0.67, then 0.78. You're starting to see it trickle up. If we actually get a downturn, you really want the downturn here to convince people to go to the bear side to continue momentum down. Thank you so much, Oni, for saying hit that like button. AMC about to get slapped. It could, but right now you're just rejecting on the 2-hour, and we were looking if the 30-minute, or I would say, in this case, the hourly wants to confirm this as a stronger base, right? So how do we make strong bases? Okay, someone give me the perfect answer. What are the 2 ways that we make strong bases? It is very, very simple. I am not trying to trick you. What is the 2 ways that we like to see a base in a downward trend? Divergence is 1, so we got divergence. Okay, awesome. And a higher low, perfect answer. Okay, higher low. So what is this one trying to be at this moment? What is this one trying to be at this moment if we're just thinking very simply? Well, I don't have divergence, so which one would it be? Bam, higher low. Good job, Reese, all the way through. Good job, Reese. Very, very nice. I'm gonna do this so I don't have to hit a bunch of stuff. Very, very nice. This is trying to be a higher low. If this is going to not accomplish that, you're probably going to see this 2-hour roll over into negative territory. As of right now, though, you're trying to do it. You're getting that confirmation. I'm going to attempt to be a higher low. If everything remains good and bullishness steps in, aka bullishness just means, do people buy the damn thing or do sellers show up? Does this fail in some way? And that is where we manage our trades, right? We look at the hourly, we see that curl up, and we go, okay, but if the 30-minute turns down into negative territory, if the 30-minute goes here and turns down in negative territory, we will be managing our position, right? So AMC trying to make some kind of base here, it could cause the daily to curl up. An hourly higher low is pretty good. It's almost as good as, I would say, a 2-hour divergence. So we're going to be paying attention to this. We're going to see if an upward move can come, but we understand lower high is still the most likely scenario. And if you're like, oh, that sucks, I want to see some kind of squeeze. A short squeeze of this type of magnitude that you're probably expecting right now is never going to be the most probable scenario, just so you are aware. You are always going to be trying to see something crazy, and I just want you to think about that for a second. I want you to think about that for a second. Because if that is the less probable thing, then I should be reacting to sell signals. And that is why we pointed out GameStop multiple times giving daily divergences. This is a good learning time to say, if you see a bad signal, hey, I'm just holding on to the stock. I know that it's going to be hard to catch. It's probably going to be hard when it actually happens, but we will most likely see some kind of momentum signals. But you have to be paying attention if you're doing options to sell signals. You really, really do. Even with GameStop, you got a perfect sell signal. Everyone's saying, hey, yeah, this thing's manipulated. Even if it's manipulated, it takes money, and momentum will show us what is going on here with GME. Okay? Now, the good part for GME is, look at the daily. It is by the center line. That is fantastic. Look at the 30-minute creating the divergences. Hey, look at that. Oh, when's Roaring Kitty going to tweet? Well, so far, every single time that Roaring Kitty has given I would say a random tweet where he hasn't talked for a while and then he puts out a tweet, we have seen a reversal signal before it happened. We have seen a reversal signal on AMC or GME every single time that he's gone into a hiatus and then he has put out a tweet. So be paying attention to the signals because he's probably moving money as well, and who's to say that's not him? Right? So we're paying attention to the right things. We see the divergence right here that was completed. We held all the divergence across the RSI. You can see how good that looked. Now we just need to pay attention to the 2-hour because the 2-hour is still in negative territory. We are starting to give up my 28.35 level. So if we want to make this a strong base, not Reese this time. Reese, you are not allowed to answer. What are we going to do if we want to make this a strong base? As of right now, it looks like we could be doing something right now, but what's the best thing that this could probably do to shake out people before this thing heads up? Come on. Someone, not Reese. Reese, you're not allowed to answer. Not allowed to answer. Go down more. Yeah, it actually would be to solidify a higher low or a divergence. And in this case, when the MACD looks like this, here's the thing. I actually looked into something that I thought was really, really funny, and my wife was talking to me about it. There's something called, oh God, you guys should look it up. It's called chicken sexers. Chicken sexers. And I know you're thinking that sounds dirty, but all it is it's impossible to tell the sex of a chicken, of a little chick. All right? It's impossible. But people can now do it at a 95% success rate. There are people that get paid a ton of money to do so. How were they able to do that over time? They got better at looking at what's in front of them and just guessing. So we're going to guess here in a very intellectual way and say, yeah, we're looking for the higher low. that is a good way. But the positioning and how this 2-hour MACD is looking right now, I think, and the fact that they want to potentially shake people out of GME, I think we're going to maybe even make a new low and then see this pop up. This would be the strongest base, I think, for GME and the strongest psychology for GME. But I will gladly be open to, if this hourly just turns down, it holds up a little bit better, retests the breakout, and then curls right back up. I will be happy about that because you would have some good stuff going on here. Not really with that, but you would have some decent stuff going on here. Pretty funny though, right? I think that's pretty funny. Lower low with divergence is the perfect answer. Thank you guys for contributing to the chat. I really do appreciate it. I just saw like 5 different people answer at the same time, and that's what I like to see. Let's go look at SoFi. I noticed that I believe someone just put SoFi in the chat. Can't get right. Let's put SoFi up for you because SoFi was one of our favorite looks. I mean, look at this divergence down there. My goodness, if you want a cookie cutter way to say, if you can't see what's going on here, hey, that's why that note's there. You have 7 days left to get the technical analysis course because SoFi was telling us a lot here. SoFi was one of my favorite ones. You do see the divergence on the MACD. You see it very significant there on the RSI, and look at the run that you have gotten. Now, what does this say? Do I want to be taking positions here? No, look, I'm overbought on a 2-hour. I could take positions potentially in here. I know that we have a high probability to squeeze. I could take it in there. Hey, we react off the 9. I could take it in there. We're getting the gap up, so it's best to get in at the lows. But this 2-hour pulling back would be the best case scenario for the next opportunity. And the reason that we're talking about that is because SoFi is showing some 30-minute divergence here outside of something we pay attention to. Which is what, Patreon members, what do we pay attention to that SoFi is outside of as of right now, and stocks like Microsoft and stocks like Amazon, and we're waiting for them to potentially set up 30-minute divergence or reversal signals. Hey, when do we pay attention? When it's outside of that weekly expected move. We pay attention when a reversal signal starts to form, and then that confirms, ooh, that can be a good sign that you're going to see some kind of pullback. So SoFi for now, it looks like a bad place to go long. Do I condone going short? Not necessarily. You can do whatever you want to do with your money as long as you know how to manage your trade. Then I'm pretty confident that you're going to do a good job. As long as you're paying attention to your risk, I'm not going to sit here and tell you what to do with your stuff. I'm just saying, me personally, I'm not going to open some massive short position on SoFi when all it could be is SoFi could do this for the whole day, do this next week, do this the week after, or after the FOMC. So SoFi looks good, but you have some arguments here that are saying if the 30-minute crosses down, you are outside of a weekly expected move and you can see a big 2-hour pullback or sideways price action. Very difficult to short. Thank you for bringing up SoFi. All right, this is pretty awesome, though. We are ending up, isn't it great how we mentioned 611.03, and now we're in the future, and we're at 611.03? It's pretty crazy. So, SoFi earnings on Monday, ooh, risky. So that's 50-50. If I had calls in SoFi before the event, and I have calls going into it, here's a good thing. Here's something we talk about with earnings, and as earnings is coming up, this is good to start having this chat. We're going to mention it a lot. I'm sorry if it annoys you, but we got to keep saying it because it never gets drilled into people's heads. Earnings. 50-50 flip. All right, earnings is a 50-50 flip. Even if a stock looks like this, I've seen it so many times. Yeah, let's say the SPY has earnings, right? Or we could do it over on SoFi, but let's just say the SPY has earnings on Monday. Well, there's going to be a lot going on in the stock. There's going to be a lot of orders. People are going to try to guess, but we don't know that information. It is impossible for us to know that information. So what we want to see is, what is the reaction after that? And if I'm in calls on SoFi and SoFi is doing this, and I don't want to stay a part of that, I can get out of positions at the high or leave some runners, as I'm probably dramatically in profit if you were taking the actual reversal signal and still holding on to that position. The way that we treat earnings is you're going to get volatility that could be extreme, and you could see a big move in either direction. It's a 50-50 flip. So if I want to downsize my position, that's the thing that I would do, right? That's the thing that I personally like to do in those situations. I have been beat up by earnings too many times thinking the signals have to play out and then they go wrong. So I'm just trying to help you out with a little of my, sharing some of my losses. We all know about Zoom. Don't laugh at me in the chat and start typing Zoom, 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 Mipahako, boom, boom. Nobody? Xenon? You weren't raised on Disney? Screw you guys. Uber is super interesting as well. Uber's actually a good one to point out here. Now, why is Uber a good one to point out? Well, if we look at a 2-hour, it's down there. We see the 2-hour divergence, but is that really playing out to dramatic downside, or does this look like it's trying to scoop back up? So Uber could be a decent position. When you do see the RSI getting above here, you're getting some closings above here, you could make that next move higher, and then you have to watch out. So this is a time, though, where for Uber, if you do end up falling down, this upward move might not be that big. So this would be almost like, hey, this could happen, but also if this fails, it has a little bit more likelihood to drop to lower levels as well. So you're almost going, hey, I wish I could make a weekly expected move right now for this to see if that weekly's there. Maybe we get that extension, and then watch out if that thing starts to turn it down, because you may have triple divergence on the 2-hour, which is pretty much a surefire thing that says, hey, the daily is going to turn down in some way. Which makes total sense. What are we approaching? The 200. So we could get to that 200, fail, curl down, maybe create a higher low, maybe see something bad with earnings. So earnings going to be a little bit rough there in a couple of weeks. We'll see. Oh, well, I was thinking of Xenon. I don't know why Xenon popped in my head when I said Zoom. What was the other one? Scrubs. Scrubs is the other one that pops in my head. Scrubs is one of my favorite TV shows. I haven't watched it in a long time, but I do like Scrubs. I think it's great. They always used to go zoom, zoom, zoom whenever something bad happened or something. Thanks, Lucas. People actually used to, my niece and nephew used to call me Lucas. I love Scrubs. Scrubs is a great show. If you like Scrubs, it's more of the emotional side too. It's like a comedy, but it's also got some emotional good stuff in there. I think it's great. But I like Arrested Development for just some fun. Dell, you want to go look? Yeah, Dr. Cox. Dell. Let's go look over at Dell. Notice Dell trying to make the next 30-minute move higher. That's really all we're paying attention to. If the 2-hour turns down, though, that's not as good looking. Now, I think that's a little less likely. I think this is built up to a great level. You've seen that reaction down to the 5, and this is kind of what we're talking about. It seems like a lot of stocks just need to do this. But you're getting a good bar here. You're getting good confirmation. I would just be watching out if that fails. But if you can see a move that violates these divergences, I'm pretty happy with it to continue that trend higher. If we can react up to here, right? We want to see this build up, build up, build up, and make that series of higher highs and higher lows. And you're pretty happy with it. I would just be aware of if the 2-hour turns down in the near term. If the 2-hour doesn't turn down in the near term, you just see this keep going and going and going, get up to these levels, you might be pretty damn positive. And what are you looking for then? A pullback, right? And you're looking for probably something like that. So very good from Dell. I want to look at the daily because I'm seeing this. I'm seeing this. So this was a higher low that ended up proving to the upside. That's great. Daily, I want to see this. I think there's divergence here. Yeah, there is. There's serious divergence here. So this tells you that you are very likely to maintain that positive trend if the daily can go positive. So this would be, hey, if nothing bad goes wrong anywhere in here and you're able to get back above here, hey, you're pretty much surefire set to go make a series of higher highs and higher lows over time for Dell. So I really like this signal as of right now. And this means you might get an uptrend all the way until earnings. That would be cool. That's nice, Glory Gaming. I'm glad to hear that. I think that's great. Exit? No, I can't. No, I'm just playing with you, buddy. Now let's look at Starbucks. Starbucks, I haven't looked at that in a little bit, so we got to look at it for a second here. Daily chart, obviously, you don't want that to cross down, but with such a positive move, even though that's by the center line, I would treat it cautiously, right? But I think that's going to be able to hold up. Now, earnings going to put a blip in that. You got to pay attention. Earnings is going to be a rough time because you're in all those 50-50 plays. That's why patience might be your best friend. 2-hour not really showing any reversal signals here, kind of flagging out, pretty nice. Might want to dip down a little bit lower to retest 93.81. That would be solid. The 30-minute might want to make that move higher first, though. So for the time being, we want to pay attention to the most bullish thing, as this is a pretty bullish trend as of right now. We're kind of flagging out. We're by that 5-day moving average, and we're seeing that 30-minute cross up on the RSI, cross up in the price action. Hey, we're getting tight. Now we can explode it to the upside. Why are my Bollinger Bands on the shorter time frames? I messed something up here. I don't want that. There we go. I don't really want Bollinger Bands there, but it was showing us how these flags start to make the price action tight, which is kind of nice to see. So yeah, this looks like it's going to continue as long as you don't see like the daily curl down rapidly here. If it's something that's like, you know, a few days like this, 4 or 5 days, and then that comes down into here, I think that would be fine. But if you start to go like this with a couple of bars, that's where it gets a little bit worrisome. Because in this scenario, by the way, just if you're paying attention to this, just remember, you had dramatic divergence up here that led to this dramatic drop. The positioning of the MACD, even if it goes up into here, is still leaning towards, hey, this could be a lower high on the daily scale. So as the daily stands, you got to be paying attention if that crosses. I think that it's pretty strong and it will be able to hold up because you've gotten rid of kind of the boring buying, right? We've seen that explosion. So I think that should remain pretty bullish, but there's always risk, right? That's just what I am seeing in front of me now. What if something changes in the next few sessions? And that's what I'll be paying attention to. So as of right now, though, the 30-minute looks like it might want to make that next move higher. So you just got to make sure everything's going well. SPY will hit 7,000 this year. Pretty bold claim. Pretty bold claim. And it's possible, right? I would say, you know, obviously, Frederick, obviously we're thinking, you know, later on in the year. I think if you want to go hit 7,000, you're going to need more moments like this. And it's fine. We invite that. We saw great trade setups with that. So is it possible? I'm never going to say it's impossible. Is it going to take some work? Yeah, it's going to take some work. Or 700, sorry, for the SPY. 7,000 for the SPX. Thanks for correcting me, Matt. Because if the SPY went to 7,000, holy crap. So let's look at volatility. Remember what we were paying attention to for that. We are looking for what is this going to cross? So what's the likely thing that volatility is telling us here? It's saying, hey, the SPY is potentially going to make new highs today. Okay. And maybe we need to pay attention to our daily expected move, but let's watch out for if this tapering holds and we end up seeing this. All right. If we don't see that, guess what that means if you don't see the divergence play out here and we start to drop dramatically and just keep going like this? It means we're going to continue to squeeze. Very cool. Very cool. TLRY possibly making all-time lows. Yeah, we can look at things like this. We can look at 2 hours, see if we have something across. You have a little bit flatness down here. You have divergence right here. It means, hey, yeah, I could be seeing a move soon, especially if that daily crosses up. I don't mind this at all. I think this says, hey, we're going to gear up. This is what this is kind of telling me right now, right? This stock is telling me what, as according to the indicators? It's telling me, hey, we made a strong base here. We saw a good move. We still held that base, and we made an even weaker momentum move a little bit lower. And look at the tapering difference, right? We did taper off more. So if this daily is able to curl up, I think we're going to attempt to take out this high. If we take out this high, where are we likely to go to? I would say right in this little block right here. I'd be paying attention to something right at these levels. The first point I'd pay attention to is 163. So yeah, I don't think it's a terrible setup. I think you could catch a pretty solid move, maybe a little 20-30% move there. If everything proves, right, you got to make sure to pay attention to how you can get screwed. Because it looks like a good setup, but good setups don't mean 100%. So just be paying attention to your risk. I think you're paying attention to the right things, Maurice. Need SPY to 605? Well, we'll hope for 605 for you. What you're hoping for is a trap, potentially, in the next 3 minutes to be playing out. We've hit 603. Well, we're about to hit 603. We almost did. If we, I swear, if we go, what's the high here? 610.78. Dang it. If we don't get to 611.03, I'm going to be pissed. VIX a buy under 12? I mean, yeah, you're talking about the right things. You'll usually see a reversal signal around 12. So I don't think it's just buy at 12. I think it's like, yeah, 12 is where you see reactions. Where do I want to take an actual position if I'm not trying to trade really, really quickly and trade a bunch? Well, I'm looking for a reversal signal around 12. What am I trading right now? I am trading almost nothing. We'll say almost nothing, right? Starting to scale into some volatility positions for potential for some bad things, but I don't think I'll do another scale in. I think I'll just let that money go in case something bad happens, just because of that interest rate coming out for Japan. But other than that, not really trying to do much. Yeah, I'm not trying to do much. I'm trying to be a good boy, enjoy my profits, right? We mentioned this on Patreon. Most of this is just enjoy my profits, wait for the next trade setup because this looks like it's going to have another bullish run. BOJ was last night, and they did decide to raise. I mean, there was no way they weren't. I mean, look at that. I mean, just I guess I can show it to you again, but for the most part, you just want to be like, okay, they were expecting like 3.2. The previous was 2.9, and it came out at 3.6. So do you think after they got the 3.6 that they were like, we could probably just leave it or cut? No, it got higher. So they were actually more so inclined to probably all those people who, there were probably a couple select people in the BOJ who were like, I don't know if we need to raise. I think we could keep it kind of flat or maybe cut it down. Once they saw that data, they go, no, we need to raise. Literally, I think every single person, once they saw that data, goes, we need to raise rates. So yeah, you got some bad data. You got some very inflationary data from the Bank of Japan there to make a decision. All right, existing home sales coming out at 4.24. The PMI coming out at 52.4, a little bit down from the forecast. So we'll see how that starts to affect things right now. So yeah, we're chilling. If you're asking me what I'm doing, I'm chilling, hanging with you guys, having a nice Friday, not going to do anything crazy into the weekend, right? Don't ruin my weekend by taking some kind of trade that I hope plays out. I hope this squeeze stops squeezing, right? That's a bad thing for me to do. I can buy some volatility if I'm itching to buy something with some profits from my overall last big good trade. Then I might end up being right, and that's fine. I can make some money. But really, in this overall move, the lowest point that I'm targeting, if I even hold volatility that long, ultimately will most likely be the retest or something down towards 590. I believe the level for the SPX that I was pointing out on the futures here, I really like this right in here. I really like 59.50 for a big retest. I think that would be phenomenal. So we'll see, and right now we are seeing some interesting things happen up at these levels. You're starting to see the 2-hour divergences pop up. You're starting to see, bad things from IWM. Very interesting. I wonder what's going on there. Well, right now you're curling down potentially here in the future, so maybe we'll pop over to IWM, notice that we're at the weekly expected move, see that the 30-minute is failing as of right now. If we start to lose that 5-day moving average, we start to cut out the low that it was trying to create. Hey, we might have a new series going on here, so we'll see. This would be nice, by the way. Something that would be really nice for the market to do is to have that confusion still and have behavior like this. Have behavior like this again, because that would be phenomenal. You see some sporadic move down, a little jump, and then by Wednesday, you're doing like some kind of divergence or something like that. That would be so awesome. I would love it. I don't think we'll see it personally. I just don't think that'll happen. But if it does happen, I'll be very excited, and we will be able to read into signals very easily. Unless we get a surprise, I guess, but I don't think we're going to get surprises. Take a look at gold. I actually think gold was pretty great here. Gold was great here, but the only thing is, now you have a bunch of divergence. Once again, another moment, very hard to short, right? Very hard to short. But if we look at a 2-hour, you're like, okay, that thing's probably going to back off eventually. How high up is it? And should I be saying, oh, this is going to crash? I probably shouldn't be saying crash. I probably should just be looking for something a little bit more than this, right? Because we've gone up for a long time. We've got a bunch of readings of overbought, right? And the actual saying is the market can remain irrational. That's what it was. The market, I said it last night, and I was like, I did not say the right word. The market can remain irrational for longer than you can remain solvent trying to short this all the time. So this is why you want to more stay with the bullish trend. You want to understand this is a very bullish trend, and even if that backs off, a reaction up is justifiable. It's very, very positive. So gold I still like. I think it needs to back off at some point, and that's fine. Just because I think that doesn't mean anything. It just means I need it to back off for the opportunity to get into something like GLD. The dollar dropping off dramatically again, not confirming any reversal signals here. The housing sector not necessarily liking something here, right? Not liking that data as of right now. Look at the reaction as a 30-minute comes on. Look at the reaction to the data as of right now. Housing has really helped us out. Do you guys remember the housing sector? The housing sector showed us that there was weakness, and then shortly after that, as we broke these levels and headed lower, we started to see the SPY get really, really choppy. So this is where we just pay attention. I'm going to stop clicking around so much and just make sure we're paying attention to the right things here. And I'm going to look at stuff on my other charts, and if they look good, if you guys ask me about a stock, I'm going to look at it on my other charts first, just so we're paying attention to the SPY because it's pretty important. We might fill some Q's gaps. Exactly. I mean, the reason those gaps are there, so you have to assume that at least one of those gets filled. At least one of those gets filled, and that could be a good thing to be paying attention to. I took a short. Hey, that's fine. Like I said, Ben. And Ben, you say some good things in the chat. I'm not worried about you at all. I think if things start to go wrong, you're going to notice and you're going to be like, all right, I need to get out of this. This is going wrong. Right now, though, it's potentially starting to go right? We actually confirm the move up and then immediately we're trying to turn back down. So we'll see what happens. I'm going to go over to my other side here. I have a SPY up over here and that's just worthless. I need volatility up. Volatility not getting a reaction just yet. But we're about to make that divergence point. We're literally so close to making that divergence point. It's insane. What's the PCC at? 0.72. So people very, very bullish again. That's back to back, almost what, three days in a row of, or I think it might be 4. I think it might be 4 days in a row of just some dramatic calls here for this thing. Let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Potential for 5 days. 5 days of just calls. So it's the exact potentially wrong moment to be buying those calls, right? Or just someone who's going to blatantly tell you, as someone who's traded a while, they can be right, but it would be very interesting for them to be right. Let's put it that way. One thing I wanted to look at was also the DIA. DIA is another one that I want to be paying attention to. Some pretty good divergence right there. Some divergence that actually was on both. And this is important, especially if you're going to take the course this weekend. Make sure that you're paying attention to what actually divergence that we put bigger money behind or something like that, right? If we're actually going to put big money behind it, I need 5 reasons for the trade, right? 5 reasons. And right now, the RSI and the MACD are at the same time. That's a big reason, right? This and this being at the same time is a big reason. It doesn't mean it has to play out, right? Nothing's 100%, but this is starting to add some credibility too. Hey, we might see a pullback here for the DIA. If it's going to be more than a pullback, just watch for that daily to cross. Remember that we were always looking for that right shoulder that could have been possibly for DIA. So if the daily crosses, just treat that with some caution. But the DIA, literally, this could go all the way back down to this zone and then curl back up, and it would make total sense. And you might just see this, right? We're really thinking this is an extremely positive move. If you're, calling out crash right now, it would be a random occurrence. Do your puts expire today, Dave? Ooh, that's a good question. Very good question. Because, damn, that's a ballsy one. All right, now we're chilling. Great day. We love Friday. Oh yeah, we got to go check on Nvidia a little bit. We did check on this before, but this is where rejection divergence might come into play. Now you have the divergence point. So if this rejects, you start to see this cross through that center line. You see this start to close below here, and I would say close below the 5. You're surefire set. Like, hey, I'm in that 2-hour pullback mode. I might go to 141. But I could end up all the way back down to 135. We keep gravitating to this area, so I would like a tag of this area in some way. I think that would be great. But there is risk here. If this is some kind of wipeout, just be aware of daily charts cross down. If daily charts cross down, we have to be aware if daily does. It's still close to that center line, and this is that's some scary behavior there. It had a lot piled on at this moment. We've talked about this moment before, why Nvidia saw dramatic selling. We had a weekly expected move there, but you also had like news, you had an event going on, you had the Fed, you had some data coming out, or, you know, Jerome Powell talking all at the same time. So Nvidia piled on bad news after bad news after bad news, and that's why it saw this. So if that's going to hold, then you're going to see the daily most likely be able to cross. If it's going to continue the positive trend, I think that's the most likely thing, is to continue the positive trend. Very nice, though, for Nvidia. We're aware of the risk. We know we're being potentially patient for the next reward. Where's Short Fridays? I don't know, and I'm pissed. No, I'm just kidding. Good morning. Do we have divergence on REGN on the 4-hour? Well, something I'll look for is just, is it on the 2-hour first, right? We see this on the 30-minute. That's great. You got the reaction. But you weren't able to take out this high. If this crosses down, bad. This could all be failure. This could all be failure. So we don't necessarily want that to happen. You want that to start curling back up. The 2-hour, you notice you do have divergence all across this 2-hour, actually. Let me look at this point right here. Yeah, you actually potentially have the divergence almost all the way across this with these 3 points. 1, 2, 3. So you potentially have triple divergence on the RSI. I would say a single divergence now at the same time for the MACD. So this means that this could reverse back around. Now you're saying 4-hour. I just want to see it on the 2-hour first. If you're looking across at the 4-hour, the more important thing is it on the daily? That's just to be surefire there. And you do actually see the little blip. So you could call it rejection divergence. You can call it divergence for a long time. Wow. Okay. Regeneration pharmaceuticals. I don't know what's going to go on with this. I don't know if this depends a lot on some kind of event going on, some kind of test that they're doing with a new product. But what we want to see here is this actually see a positive bar, I think above the 20, and then you want to start that uptrend. I don't think it's the worst. I just think for options, it might be a little tough. JP Morgan, thank you so much, Justin, for the 265. JP Morgan, and JP Morgan is interesting because you have some interesting stuff, and that would be the daily chart. I think the daily chart is interesting because it's extremely bullish. I think this will, overall, it looks like it's going to continue. And is the daily chart at risk of crossing down right now? Well, I would say potentially no. I'm more leaning still towards the 2-hour pullback. Now that can go retest 250. I think 250 would be a great level to retest right in here, and then just curl back up, right? Extremely positive. That's going to save you a lot of the time. If you're just trying to look at a chart and keep things straight, just be like, well, the most probable thing is, well, what's the positioning of the MACD? It's super positive. So even if we go through something bad, if it's not like crashing below like 240, then it's probably going to be able to hold up pretty well. And then we look at the top and we go, okay, is that 2-hour likely to cross? I see this RSI with that little move down there for the RSI, so it's probably on a 30-minute rejection divergence at the end here, divergence all the way across. So JP Morgan saying, hey, I'm extremely weak and I need to back off on the 2-hour. That's what it's telling us at this point. VIX triple bottom, let's go check that out because that's what we were paying attention to this morning, right? This is something we mentioned right away. Potential for triple bottom, I don't think it's clearly, actually, that is the divergence point. If you take the closings of the bars, is it holding the divergence point? You're slightly losing the divergence point, so a little bit rough there, but it is trying to be, at least if you include the wick, a higher low. It would be considered divergence with the closing of the bars as of this level right here. So you can consider this divergence. It's just not on the RSI technically at the same time. It would be multiple point divergence at this point with these levels, just so you are aware. Does that change anything? It means it's a little sloppy. That's how I would say it. It means it's a little sloppy, but I would really trust my MACD over my RSI here. And if that crosses up, then the 2-hour can really see a nice move here. So you got to be patient. We got to be patient and be waiting. But that says, hey, MACD is probably my friend here. RSI might have to catch up to the MACD, weirdly enough, on this one. Kramer said Apple will miss earnings. Okay, so we're all buying calls on Apple. Apple failing again at the 5, not a good sign. Remember the 2-hour, we're still looking for this. We're looking for hourly divergence, trying to carve out that higher low. Got to be able to beat this high in order to do so. And this is where you take things into consideration. Yes, Apple can move in a different direction than, say, you know, the SPY and the Qs. But if the SPY and the Qs are going to suffer, and all those stocks in the SPY and the Qs suffer in some way, is Apple going to be safe? And I think that's the big thing we want to get at there. Apple's been very good with earnings. Apple is something that has given golden setups with earnings. We remember that. We remember the golden setup with earnings, right? Do you guys remember where that was? The golden setup with earnings, which is something that we point out in the course, is it's one of our favorite setups. It is my favorite setup. Is this, that we had a golden setup down here where you have multiple things going on. You have almost 10 reasons for the trade right here. Like when you see that, you're going, holy crap. That has some great probability to see upside. And even into earnings, I say I'm still going to downsize the position, but that really convinces me I have a lot of reasons to be bullish here instead of bearish, and that's something huge. That's something huge. Do we have that right now? No, you don't have a golden setup as of right now. You have an extremely deep MACD on the daily. So we don't have it right now. Could we make it before? Yes, you can. We'll see what happens. All right. Very, very nice here. Starting to dip down to lower levels. What's the first point we pay attention to? Right here. We can retest the weekly. We can test the 607.03. That would be very nice. And then we can see if that's able to hold up. If you start to lose that, ooh, it could start to get a little uglier. But if we lose that briefly, we don't really cut this level. We don't see closings below the 5. I think this can hold up, and we could end up seeing more upside, right? They really probably want to do some funky stuff. We're on options expiration today, so. Is my screen all messed up? Anyone? Let me go check the stream real quick. Nope. Okay, Jamie, it might be yours. Refresh and then click that little settings tab. Okay. Click that little settings tab and make sure it's not on auto. Turn it to 720 if your computer's not the best. If your computer's pretty good, put it to 1080. If I think I have 1080 up right now. I'm not 100% sure. It should be on 1080. Thank you guys for the responses to let me know. TNXP, Tonix Pharma. Okay, so we're getting some pharma stuff here. TNXP. Yeah, it's a live show, so live shows sometimes they just get a little glitchy. TNXP, you got to be worried a little bit. You're seeing the wicks come in, and this is a big problem for this area. Some serious resistances coming in here, some selling going on in these areas, or profit taking potentially, right? Profit taking is more so what that would be. But did we break down at an area that was really worrisome? No. We kind of blew past both, right? We blew past this one. We blew past this one. So is this going to remain positive over time? Most likely the 2 hours, extremely high up, right? We're getting high up here. Can this be a little bit worse? Yeah. You're kind of far away from the 5, but that 2 hour could dip down for a little while here. Maybe to go retest something like 26 cents. But I don't like looking at stuff like this because it's super, super small. The cooler part was the rejection divergence at the low when you really saw that double bottom. That was really, really nice. The daily chart is trying to curl up. Just note that you see daily charts curl up and you see a little pullback sometimes and then it heads in the upward direction. See if that remains for the whole day too, right? That's curled up now. A lot can change by the end of the day. I think you just got to be a little bit cautious with it, but this is probably something you're more investing in than doing options. It's very, very low. Oh, I think Netflix is just stupidly high. I think this is stupidly high, but people like it, right? If people like it, this most likely can continue. Now, where are you likely to retest? Well, I would say something right here, 930-ish, somewhere at 930. And I'm not just looking at the 5 and marking that off. I'm mainly looking at this and the behavior in this. And I'm going, okay, there's a gap at 933. There's a gap down here at 918. So what's in the middle of that? What held as resistance? Well, 930 seems to be the line where you started to see bad things happen. So I'd be looking at 930. But anytime the 2 hour, if this just wants to go like this, right? Anytime this wants to just, and then you see that curl up, the main thing is this by the center line? Am I seeing a retest? And am I seeing good things from that retest? Tesla, another one that we haven't really gone over today. Tesla, we're looking for that 2 hour confirmation up. That's the best thing that can happen for Tesla. That is the best thing that happens for Tesla. I don't have that option as well. So it's on the YouTube itself. If you just hover over the video, you're gonna see a little settings tab here. You just click it, and then it'll ask if what like, or it might be like down in this corner, down over here, right, for you, where the 90% off course sale thing is. Only 7 days left. Right under that section, you might see it. Yeah, click the little settings thing, and then try to put that on at least 720. So for this, the 2-hour crossing up is what we're really looking for. Remember, the 30-minute actually did give you a signal here, which is very interesting. Very interesting. Like I said in my video last night, is this a signal that I'm willing to put money behind? Is this a signal that I'm willing to put money behind? Well, it's supposed to be the 31st, all right? So the 31st is next week, Richard. I'm slightly technically challenged. Hey, that's okay. That's okay. You learned something, right? At least you learned something. Yeah, whenever you see that, little bit of glitchiness, I do it all. It happens to me too. It just randomly happens on some videos. I usually don't see it, but live videos, it tends to happen, so. Yeah, this here says this can reverse around. It's just not something that I'm willing to risk money behind, which means what? It has probabilities to go up, but does it have enough reasons for me to go, oh yeah, I want to take a trade? Does it have enough reward for the risk that I want to take? And for me, it's just not there. If you would like to trade, hey, I'm confident in you. I'm confident in your skills. If you're taking something like this, hey, that's awesome. Just make sure you're managing risk, right? I'm always going to wish you luck with your trade. We can talk about it as it goes. I learn much from you every day. When I make money in the market, I'll pay it forward. Hey, I appreciate that, Jamie, but I just appreciate you being here. If you guys ever contribute to the chat, that's good. If you ever contribute to liking the video, even if you just watch your part of the video at night and you just leave the rest of the video on, or watch the video all the way through, that's really helpful. If you decide to donate back to the chat, of course, I will be thankful, but just know it's your hard-earned money, so I want you to make that decision for yourself. And overall, as long as you're here, I'm happy, right? That's the biggest deal. As long as we're here and everyone's focusing up and everyone's talking about the right things and everyone's doing good things, right? Everyone's practicing, or maybe not even risking money and just paper trade, practicing good behavior, right? Good habits. That's going to be the big thing that gets me. It really makes me happy when someone comes in and they go, hey, I learned from you. I took a tough loss a month ago. Now I'm doing a lot better because I'm paying attention to risk. I think that's great. Whoa. Oh, God, Richard. Richard, you said you were going to get the course. Richard, thank you so much for the $100 for getting me to learn that Apple was not the play this week and totally losing my skin. Tell the wife and daughter I say hi. I will, Richard, and we're going to go out and get some boba. We're going to go out and get some boba, and maybe if Short Fridays comes back, we'll go to Firehouse Subs. Who knows? I will let them know. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And Richard, specifically Richard, my wife wanted to say thank you so much for your donation to the Tobes so she could take him. She really treated him for we had about 4 days to just treat him very, very nicely. And you helped with that. So thank you so much for doing that. It really made her happy. And she wanted me to tell you thank you, Richard. Goonie, I like to stick to what I know. I like to look at the max out. I like to look at the SPY and the Qs, and I like to make decisions there. I really don't care what indice it's in if I see a good signal, but for the most part, I like to stick with what I know. And for that, it would be, Apple, Teslas, these stocks that I've looked at for a long time. That's all I would say. If it's a good setup, I know enough about my technicals. I know enough about my strategies. I know enough about managing risk that I potentially could be safe in that. It's just, if I'm comfortable somewhere, I don't necessarily want to go somewhere uncomfortable with my money, if that makes sense. But it doesn't mean I won't trade it. It doesn't mean I can't analyze it. It just means I need to maybe understand a stock a little bit better before I actually trade it, right? I might want to read about it. I might want to look at the books for just a quick second, and then I'll look at the signals. Great guy. Hope you can. Yeah, thank you so much again, Richard. Really do appreciate it. Oh, no, I really hope you didn't lose much on Apple. That's why we were trying to blatantly be like, Apple was set up to maybe do something crazy, but it's like the riskiest thing. but the higher risk there was the reward could be massive. I mean, if that was distributed to the upside, it would have been massive. So that's why we just downsized position there. And then the other part to that is we had great setups with Amazon and SoFi and even just the SPY and the Qs. So I understand, like 50, if I had stayed in, then I would have been cooked. Okay, good. I'm glad to hear that. Yeah. That's something you can learn. I mean, it's funny to me that it seems a lot of people like to put big money behind the risky trade instead of putting big money behind the obvious trade. And if you can switch that mentality, I think it would really help. Going my way so far with that red candle, baby. Let's go, dog. Let's go, dog. Let's look at the other indices. I mean, we're noticing the Qs doing it. We're noticing IWM do it. Well, IWM actually, we'll see what happens with that. DIA holding up pretty well here as well. Very interesting for DIA. I really think that's pretty interesting, but SPY starting to give it up a little bit. The big thing is, with all this, are we going to confirm volatility back in the upward direction? I think that's what we're looking for. We're not seeing that at this moment. Sometimes you don't see it, and then you'll see a big reaction. We'll find out. I don't trust this downside. That's probably a good thing to say. You are still technically in a short squeeze. What's up with Nvidia? You're kind of hoping that's not a lower high on the daily scale, but Nvidia, you're just looking for that 2-hour pullback as well. Pretty much most of the stocks that you guys are going to mention, especially if they're like Mag 7 or something that's seen an upward move, they're just looking for a 2-hour pullback. The dollar is falling. The dollar is falling. So, you know, Kalani might have an argument here for intraday, saying, hey, I don't trust this downward move. Well, we're not seeing things that really tell us to trust this downward move just yet. This is why it's going to be complicated to short. Well, I'll just hold on to volatility for a bit, see what happens. Palantir to the moon. Let's go look at Palantir. That is a stock that we give out daily expected moves for. So let's go look. We are above the daily expected move, and you're wiping out divergences. This is extremely crazy for Palantir. This is wild for Palantir. This is really wild. Hey, and Jim Cramer said there's nothing stopping Palantir, so usually he's right for a couple of days, then he's wrong. Still, though, even at this point, unless I had my positions down here and I'm holding those runners to let this thing go, it's very difficult to sit there and go, oh yeah, I want to go long now. Like, look at this. Look at this. It's just, it's very difficult. You could see a mean 2-hour pullback at any moment. So I don't want to short it because at any moment, time is a big issue if I want to short, right? So very difficult to short here. Very good move, though. Very good. Daily turned up yesterday. Daily turning up today. Fantastic. We're about to test this high. Maybe even go make a new one. You had divergences. You start to violate those, you're going to make a new series of highs here. Remember, Frederick coming in and going SPY to 700 by the end of the year. Hey, let's read into it. Anything's possible. All right, we're chilling. Oh, it's nice. Remember at the end of the stream yesterday what we had drawn up? It was this. Very nice. We like it. We love it. We want some more of it. Took calls on SPY and IWM intraday. Yeah, I'm not trying to scrape away some. Well, I don't know how much money you're risking, and you potentially actually, you know, day trading you can make a good amount if you're right. So I don't want to say that. I just don't want to risk too much here, especially with the BOJ. I just don't want to do that. I just think there's too much risk of something random happening. You want me to throw up the dailies on the SPY and the Qs? Yes, I have to get a picture for you. I can throw those up at the bottom of the screen though. I'll put it over the. I'll give you IWM and DIA as well. We'll do a big old picture over here. Give me one sec. We'll take this off for now. Just a note, the course is still there. You guys know that. You guys got it by now. do this. Okay, and dink. And I gotta move that up a little bit. There you go. We'll replace it. There you go. There's your moves for the indices there. Yeah, those are the daily moves. 6, 12, 47. You see it on your screen how it's matching. It's just there's the other ones if anyone needs them. We'll do that for today. We don't do this all the time, right? But we'll do it for today. Because Richard gave $100, so thank Richard. That's why I'm putting it up there. I'm going to give credit to Richard. Smaller amount of risk, 300. Yeah, that doesn't sound too bad. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, pretty much for me, when I say, like, not a lot of risk, it means less than $500. Like, that's the $500 is like my minimum for a trade. So if I'm doing less than 500, I go, yeah, I'm not risking anything. My maximum I usually try to put into a trade, like an option play, is like 3,000. You. Let me just check this real quick on my other charts. Actually, what's volatility doing? Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. I gotta count energy fuels. Ooh, big rejection divergence. I think this one's worth looking at. This has some massive divergence. You're starting to see that come down. And this looks a lot like SoFi, by the way, doesn't it? This looks a little bit like SoFi to me at this moment, but it has nothing to do with SoFi. I gotta update all these things, but you'll see here, this has potential to be double top now, or triple top if you want to call it that with the wick. Rejection divergence, pretty huge there. So you really want to see if this 2 hour is going to cross down now. And the best case for this is we're getting up to that great level, and the only 2 hour pullback you see is probably down to the last wick up. So this area proved to be some good stuff. You see that big wick, you see the wick of resistance there. I really like that. I really like that. You even see this low down here, and you see this resistance here, you see resistance here. So I would be marking that off. I would be doing this and going, pink, yep, right there. And then I would, make sure to put that in white so I know it's a lot like a sell line or call or buy line, sell line when I like to color code stuff. So 2 hour, I think that if it did this, I think that would be great. If it did this, I think it would be great. And also, let's see if that lines up, right? Let's really look into this, right? Let's see if a pullback lines up to that area. I know I'm not perfect with it. There you go, like a little 0.5 retrace. That'd be pretty nice. But this is what I'm overall looking for. Hey, can we break through this? Well, that's how you would do it. But if this crosses, do we want to just buy down here or something like that? Unless you have structure, we should be patient. Because this could cut through this for a second, then turn back up. And then when it crosses, we go, okay, the momentum is in the upward direction now. And I can make a decision, and I can manage risk if something goes wrong. I don't mind it. I want to look at this base real quick, because that looks like daily divergence. So daily rejection divergence, very, very nice there. So that's actually really, really good. If you can gear up and go in the upward direction, you might be in that series there. And you might actually see this. I mean, remember this? We get excited. Sometimes we go up like this and we make that right shoulder later on. So just pay attention. You're a little bit down there in the negative territory. So just pay attention if this starts to get little 2 hour divergences in here saying, hey, the daily's going to roll. And that's maybe a little closer to the center line. Okay, if that were to happen, just something to be aware of in the future. I think what you're looking for now is you had 30-minute rejection divergence that can roll over the 2 hour, and you're hoping, hey, I hope this holds up well. If it's not holding up well, you got to be paying attention if that daily crosses because it's negative. But I like the divergence down there. I like the 30-minute divergence in here telling me that that pullback can come. Want to be paying attention if that just reacts. Pretty squeezy still. And then can we go in the upward direction, or do we just move sideways and go up, right? So pretty much we're talking about this just going like that. This going like that. And I like that 550. Right on that wick too, right? I was mainly looking at this and this wick right here. And so you have some stuff that proves that level's pretty damn good. The worst case is if you're going to make an extremely lower, higher low, it'd be gap fill. think GME rejects back down to 26. Yeah, GME. What I'd be watching here is a strong base. We still need a strong base. Whether that's going to be, you know, a 30-minute has to curl down and curl back up and keep creating these series of higher lows, right? That would be good, right? We're saying, oh, okay, higher low. And now we have, or no, we're saying a low. We're saying a high. I wouldn't count this as a high or low just yet. But now that we've actually crossed down and we're going to see a retest of that 5, if we do this, I would say higher low. Especially if we take out this high and go make a new one, you can look back and be like, okay, we're in a positive trend. That's what you want to continue. But something I think is likely here as GME does move kind of rapidly is just if a 2-hour pullback does come, or not necessarily pullback, if a 2-hour next trend move comes, right? We've seen dramatic downside, dead cat bounce maybe, and then you turn back down. That's something I'd be paying attention to. You don't have 30-minute divergence here telling you that's happening, so you just want to pay attention closely, but I would be aware of this. I think this is the scenario that would hurt the most amount of people. So with GME, usually I'm going with what can hurt the most amount of people. That's kind of why I sold my options up in here, right, with the 2-hour divergence. Sold those options, still holding onto the stock, just reacting with my options. Right? I always have little GME and AMC options. I just don't really mention them often because they're little plays. They're not a lot of money. I just take some YOLO calls pretty much at certain times. So when this thing crossed up, I go YOLO calls. Oh, we confirmed divergence. I'm out of those. And that's just because that's when you have that attempt to really break through. Now you just have a 30-minute base. If you want to make a strong 2-hour base, I think you're going to see a divergence down here. And if you see a divergence down here, and it completes, I'll probably be back in some YOLO calls. AMC, once again, trying to carve this out in some way. But if that 2-hour can cross down lower prices, I'm still looking at 292. I'll have some buy orders there. I did not check the Swiss 20. I might go look at that now. And UUU continuing the downside as of right now. UUUU. Let me go look at this. 20. Oh, yeah. I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's some steep 2-hour divergence. One thing about that, though, is the MACD pretty high up. Yeah, I'd still be paying attention. 30-minute by the center line, holding up really well. 2-hour has confirmed it, so that could just be a quick little 30-minute move up, but yeah. I just think the 2 hours really high up, so you always have a chance to make another one, like a more significant divergence than that. But you can pay attention to it. If the daily starts to cross, then you just know what's up here, right? You're reacting to a great level, right? So for the Swiss 20, you're reacting to a great level. If you can see a mean pullback, hey, that'd be fine. Yeah, I would just be like, yeah, this can reverse, but what's my gut telling me here? My gut's telling me, ooh, that 2 hour is pretty freaking high up, right? You're at a reading of 60. So for that to get to 0, you have to see that like plummet. It's possible. I never would say it's impossible. I just think you might need another point of reference there or a high or a lower high to really be convinced that it's heading down. Dave's in 602 puts, baby. Let's go over here. All right, so we got the confirmation. Now, one thing here is this a good confirmation? Is this a good confirmation? No, what do we want to see? If this is going to give us that 2 hour pullback, what do we want to see? We want to see a red bar beneath this 9 right here. This red line coming up. We want a red closing right there. You can still see little reactions, but we want a red closing there. That would be a good confirmation. Now, if I was doing this, and I'm just going to tell you how I would treat this if I was going to short, because you have to keep things very, very tight. You have to understand you are in a short squeeze. I know people are getting overall bullish with the calls there, but for a while. But we want to pay attention to if that squeeze can continue. So if that squeeze continues, I want a tight stop. I want to extend out that expiration just a little bit, see that closing like this, take the opportunity. I can manage the trade on a 15-minute, see if that gets me out early, but also I could put a stop right here at this high. And then if it stops me out, and then curls back down, I can make that decision again. But this is why it's so difficult to short. But this is not a good confirmation at this point. You have it on the MACD. I would say you partially have it on the MACD. It kind of looks like it's flat. You partially have it on the RSI. Kind of looks pretty flat. And then the price action, most important thing, price action. Make sure you're watching price action. Remember with GME, the first one, we were like, that's not a good confirmation. And then it went higher. And then it did a good confirmation. We said, that's a good confirmation. What happened? It sold off. So we want a good confirmation. And now you're looking for that in the price action. Where do the upside and the downside ranges stem from? So what we do is we calculate the options data to give us a range that's like a bell curve. And it says we see crazy things through here, crazy things through here, and this is our zone, which 68% of the time you land in that zone. We explain that very thoroughly. If you want some more information about that in the course down there in the description, we go over exactly what those are and why we look for divergences around them. Right? We don't just look for if they get tagged and then make a YOLO play and say, oh, we're buying shorts now. We have to see some type of reversal at it. That's why I'm saying I wouldn't shoot you in the foot if you were like looking for this to close below the 9 and taking some kind of short position. I get it. I'm just going, hey, but I'm going to make you aware of the risk. And the risk is you're in a short squeeze. Right? So normally we would be paying attention to this. I'm still going to put some kind of money behind the volatility divergence we're seeing. But yeah, the weekly ranges. Overall, all you need to know is, like, let's really get down to the nitty gritty and keep it simple. More information does not make you smarter. All you need to know is we calculate it using the options data. If you would like to look it up for yourself, that's fantastic. You can literally type into Google probably right now and say, hey, what's the calculation to get weekly expected moves using options data for stocks? And you'll see the calculation. It's just the calculation can, you can mess it up. I can tell you that, you can mess it up. But the main thing you need to know, 68% zone, 32% chance to see something crazy, 68% chance to see something that we would expect. Because this is the expected area, because it's the bigger percentage. 32% chance to see something crazy. When you are in a squeeze, you are very likely to see those crazy things. Yeah, that's it. That's literally all you need to know. And the next thing you need to figure out is, what am I looking for here to take a trade? What were we looking for here to take a trade if we have a weekly expected move there? And that's what we really go in depth to in that course. But we do talk about it a lot on YouTube. I do like to say this a lot of the time for people who maybe don't even have $100, like maybe you have a smaller account and you're like, I just don't know, I don't want to. Well, you can still hang out with us for probably, I think someone said about the emails I've gotten of people who have taken the course and they were like, hey, the course was good, but I kind of knew this stuff. There were people that were watching videos. I think the last person who messaged me said they watched 125 videos of mine, and that's when they were able to piece it all together. So it just saves you a lot of time. Saves you a lot of time if you're still having questions. You don't have to try to put everything together yourself for a very cheap price. You can just go in there, get the information, and be like, okay, now I can ask little questions in the chat and probably learn much faster. I'll stick to the lives, yeah. Well, how long have you been here, Richard? About, what, almost a month? So if you've been here almost a month, you got like 2 to 3 more months left. And then you'll probably get a good hang of this. 2 weeks? Okay, then you got some time. It is, Kalani. You are pointing out the fact that it is hard to short this. Yes, they really want people to give up in thinking this can go down. And it's right when people think that this thing can't go down that it actually starts to go down. That's weirdly enough how the mentality of markets usually plays out. It's once everyone gives up, and then all the retail gives up and they go, damn, nothing is going to bring down this market. Famous last words of every single top that happens in the market is, nothing can bring down this market. You want to hear something really funny? I watched this video. I actually really like the guy. I think he's really smart, but he's just kind of a comedic streamer. And he was going through big economists, like the people who are considered to be like some of the best economists in the last 200 years. And it was 1928 or 1929, I think it was 1929. And the best economist at the time said, there is absolutely nothing that will stop this economy. He was quoted in it. He was put in the papers. You know, the papers were huge back then. He was put in them. And that quote was everywhere. Every single person saw it in the papers. 2 weeks later, we went into the Great Depression. 2 weeks later, we went into it. Yeah, maybe you saw it, Knives. It was a great video. It's a great little video. And I thought that was so funny. And I got to back test. I got to see if that's true. But if he's being honest about that, which I don't see any reason for him to lie, like, right, he's just talking about it because he thinks that's funny. I think that's funny too. And a lot of jokes have a lot of truth to them. So, hey, your Swiss play is starting to come down even more, actually. I had to go directly to my broker. The excuse was unable to fetch order preview information from the broker. Check the liquidity, like check the volume and things like that. Sometimes that could happen. If I publish an article saying GME can't possibly go up, well, that's actually something that you should read into, Richard. We're seeing for all of 2024, you're seeing them say GME can't go higher. You get out of it. It's terrible. This is awful. What are you seeing in those same people, those same publishments? I mean, in our time. You're seeing that. So potentially it just means what? It's a matter of time, maybe. Right? Everyone going short on the PCC? No, they're not. They are not. They are not. The dollar dropping off is very interesting. But no, they are not. It's up 0.71. 0.71. You're looking for, if people were bearish, it'd be above 0.95. Right? So just keep a good head on your shoulders. Now people just don't cover GME. Well, that's because they forced it to go down. They gave you a lot of reasons. Chinese stocks will be interesting. BABA. Chinese stocks will be interesting. They've been beat up for a long time. You want to talk about shorts? I mean, I actually watched a... who did I watch this morning when I woke up with my coffee? FX. I actually watched FX, and he was talking about Chinese stocks, and I think that's an interesting standpoint, and he was showing off the short exposure. And the short exposure is extremely high for Chinese indices. I actually don't even know the ticker, but we can go look at BABA. But is BABA going to be safe? Like, that's kind of the thing here. You're seeing some dramatic divergences. It's not playing out as of right now. You're seeing that bullishness come in, which is great. But that 2-hour pullback could still come for this, and it's in an area where it sees resistance a lot of the time. So it just means to me, maybe we go through a 2-hour pullback, and then we see that thing curl back up. HSI? Okay, HSI was the one. Yeah, he was looking at this and just showing, yeah, there's a ton of puts in this thing. And I thought that was interesting. You are technically trying to do something here, right? You're trying to maybe get a lower high on the 2-hour if that crosses down bad. But I thought that was interesting. It means there might be opportunity for some investment in some Chinese stocks. What about TLT? Well, TLT, we want to see here because we are seeing that create a base. Look at the 2-hour chart creating that base. So what we're looking for is, well, this is still a little bit lackluster. You're kind of reacting to the same point. If the 4-hour curls down, that would be something that would push TLT higher. But I want to see if we make that divergence on the 4-hour. If we make a divergence on the 4-hour, I'm going to be saying that's reversing back around. And really, the reaction you've gotten here, you're still above the 5. So this is actually holding up pretty well. If you start to lose that 5 cross over the 4-hour, potential to test the low and go make a new one. You can. It's just the Dixie's seeing a lot of downside right now. I'm still waiting for this to really prove itself to me. I gotta see proof that this is going to go in the upward direction. You can use UUP to do that. HSY, yeah, we'll look at that. Hershey, that's where I used to play soccer. Hershey, I like this actually from the 2-hour. Do I like it in the form of an option play? Maybe. That's a big maybe. I mean, look at that daily, really, really deep here. It tells me, hey, we could be getting a snapback reaction all the way to 167.93. But if we want to create a base before we go test that, you might see a lackluster move like this up to 160 and then see that fail and then see that base really created. I'd really like a daily base here, but you do have a 2 hour suggesting that it's rejecting, right? It's rejecting, giving that base. You're getting confirmation from your RSI. So I wouldn't hate on you for it, and I think you're just looking for a test of that 167 is probably best case there. DraftKings, I'm a little bit bearish on, I think, but yeah, this was why. So this is why the 2 hour divergence here is something huge. You can always go for the next push, that little 30-minute trap, right? A little 30-minute trap. But if this starts to reverse back down, you start to lose the 5. It's a pretty good idea that the daily could cross. And where's the daily? It's really close to negative territory. The good part for this is the buying was okay. The buying was okay, so you can look for those lower highs. But I would just treat this very seriously. If this daily does cross, you do have some good probabilities to go test that low, maybe even go make a new one. If this sets up before earnings, it might be something to pay attention to, right? It might be something to pay attention to. I just told you guys the other day, I was reading into kind of some of my friends that do DraftKings, right? Like a lot of my friends do DraftKings. A lot of my friends are seriously into sports. I talked about the football coach. Like literally one of my best friends. He's a great dude, but he loves gambling on this stuff and he's pretty good at it, but he's just, you know, he even is not the most successful gambler. And I think people are starting to realize that the subscriptions are encouraging you to take very highly improbable bets. And I think that's the thing. I mean, if you win on those, you win a lot, and that's why people are attracted to them. It's just like stocks. You know, at that point, gambling and stocks are the same. If you're looking at something that's seriously improbable and putting money behind it, you're very highly probable to lose. And I think that's a problem that is with DraftKings. And you're not safe here from seeing this extend one more time and seeing some dramatic downside. So I'd just be cautious. You're getting some reversal signals here. Yeah, Alberto, I think you got to be caught. Now, if this thing wants to, it can get down by that center line, hold up better, right? You're always paying attention to if that flips back around, right? That daily isn't even close to crossing right now. It's just close to the center line, so you got to be aware of it. And you see 30-minute and 2 hour signals here, so just be a little bit cautious. But, you know, if this thing can remain bullish, that's great. Do you have great confirmation here? You have gotten the confirmations in these areas, but you're taking back the 5. So if this 30-minute does curl back up, which it is, it would mean, hey, I got to manage for a second. If that falls back down, I'm back in. If it can cut this high and then fall back down, I'm back in. But just in case this never does that and starts to sky high, that's why we manage our trades. Yes, Cattle, I can. It's just you're spamming, and we look at SPY constantly. We literally look at SPY like every 2 minutes. So be a little, practice a little bit of patience. Practice a little bit of patience. I'll tell you what, I'll go look at the Qs. Because let's read a little bit here. SPY calls right now. SPY, look at SPY, SPY. Hey brothers, see my chats asking about SPY. I'm not trying to hate on you. I'm just saying practice a little bit of patience, right? We do look at the SPY plenty. And my thing is, I think that you are messaging SPY, SPY, SPY not to learn, but so I can say something good or bad about the trade that you took. And that's not something that I like to see. Here's to the coffee fund. Thank you, Cuckoos, for the coffee fund. Really appreciate you. I actually bought coffee the other day. My wife found a Groupon for one of those Costco or Sam's Club or something like that, and she was all excited, and man, you can buy that stuff. I didn't know if you could see it. I can see it, and I'll tell you what, Cattle, now I will go look. So taking calls here, like I said, it depends a lot. Like, I don't know. This is why I don't like to talk about people's positions too much, and thank you so much again, Cuckoos, for that. This is why I don't like to look when someone is talking like that, because I don't know how you're doing things. I don't know if you're a day trader. I don't know if you like to take positions. That's why this channel is more so about learning. What did I just say at the beginning of the stream? This is probably the worst spot to open up calls positions. This is one of the worst times to open up call positions. I am a position trader. I'm not a day trader. You can day trade and make money taking calls here. I understand that. but I'm just saying this is the worst spot. You are at our sell target. Like, remember when we were talking about, hey, everyone asked me, where are you targeting? Where are you targeting? 611.03. Where are we? 611.03. So if I'm hitting my sell target and saying, oh, and someone says I'm late and I want to take call positions here, it's not a good idea. If you want to day trade, though, it's all up to you. You know what I mean, cattle? So I just don't know enough about it, and that's why I don't like to respond to things like that. But I will help you out here in saying day traders lose 95% of the time. I'm not a day trader for that reason. I understand I've made money day trading, but I understand that it is not my strength. My strength is I can tell, usually with a good probability, which direction stocks are going to go. And I react when I'm wrong. And sometimes I'm wrong and I lose money, and that's perfectly fine. As long as I win more than I lose, as long as I'm managing risk, I am just fine. Yeah, appreciate you coming in though, cattle, okay? Just know we got a lot of people in here, all right? So just we always check on the SPY. And we have key levels for you, cattle, at the bottom of the screen, just so you're aware. Those are the daily expected moves if you have a trade for today, if you'd like those. Which direction? I think we're going to see a 2-hour pullback in some fashion. I think we're going to see a 2-hour pullback in some fashion. I think you're going to see something along the lines of, oh, the Fed is going to raise rates or something like that. I think that will be a narrative that comes out. And then I think we're going to see them just either hold it even or cut the rate. And I actually think with the data that we just got from the BOJ, I think they're going to cut the rate. That's just my thought. But as of right now, it seems that the percentages are more leaning towards pause. Pullback is in go down. That's the tough part, right? Content snips, you're in a short squeeze. So shorting is going to be difficult. I will say it for the 1000th time, because I say it in my head back when I was trading without a channel. I was just like, remember that one time that you tried to short a short squeeze and you kept shorting it and you kept shorting it, and you went from, oh, a $500 position to a $1,000 position to a $2,000 position to a $3,000 position, and it never came back, and you ended up taking a $2,000 loss, and then everything turned down? That's what happened to me. That's happened to me before. So that's why I tell you guys very seriously, I'm like, hey, if you want to learn by making your own mistakes, that's great. But that's going to hurt. Learn from mine. I already did it for you. I already lost money for you. Way back in the day. It was back during the bear market, actually. That was the last time I messed up in trying to short a short squeeze. Target for pullback, immediately attracted to the gaps for the SPY. Immediately attracted to here for the minor pullback. Immediately attracted to the retest down here. And then after that, I'm looking at this level down in here, down towards 590, if it's dramatic. And that's fine. It's just, how do you the thing is, when you make a mistake, it's not really about the mistake. I don't want to sit there and focus, I made a mistake, I made a mistake, I made a mistake. It's what can I take away from that mistake to become better? That's where you really will start to, if you find those little moments, you'll start to realize what you're good at, and what you suck at, right? So I'm like, wow, I suck at shorting a short squeeze. Who would have thought that? So I'm just like, okay, what if I really need to, if I made good profits and I want to keep trading and I want to trade in case we do see a pullback here, hey, that's awesome. I can do that. But what do? Do I bet $3,000 behind it now? No, I bet less than my minimum behind it now. Exactly, Thanos. Yeah, and Thanos bringing up a good thing. If I'm an investor, am I even looking at a 2-hour chart? I might be at times if I'm a short-term investor and I'm looking at 2-hour divergences, but I'm potentially just waiting for those divergences, right? We're going into the end of the month. You're reacting to the top side move at the end of the month. So what is likely next month? Next month, you could potentially see a pullback and then end up at the upside monthly expected move, which probably, depending on where this thing lands, it could end up at, 620, right? If we pull back and then we go up slightly into Friday, maybe up in these areas, right? Then wouldn't a 620 make sense for the monthly expected move? Yeah, I think you're going to see a bigger reaction. And I think, remember what we were paying attention to. Are we seeing a major top in January? No. So what was our next thinking? Well, we're going to pay attention to March. I have hesitated to trade Tesla over the past year, mainly for one reason. The implied volatility is always extremely high, which makes the options very expensive. So I can't get a ton of contracts with the amount of money that I like to risk, right? Right. I risk in every single trade. Most of the time, I'm risking less than 5% of my whole portfolio. Isn't that crazy? Right. I'm sitting there. I have my big lump of cash on the side in case we ever crash, and I'm sitting playing these little upside moves, playing these little trades with options to make little bits of amounts, and then once we see a crash, I can just take my pick. And you guys know what I like to buy in a crash. Who wants to know what I like to buy if things crash? And I'll tell you in a second, but January, March, and October, exactly. Awesome, Suri. I'm glad someone's listening. Let's look at, sorry about that, Cuckoos. Did you have something for me? Volatility. You want to look at that? Is volatility ticking up? Let's go over here. Let's leave the SPY over there. Oh, we still have AMC over here. Let's look at volatility. See if the dollar bases out at some point throughout the day. Volatility on a 30-minute. If that thing can see a strong move, I still want to see strength. All right, I still want to see a strong move. I want us to beat this high. I want us to get above there. And I do like to buy UVXY. That's pretty much what I did here. I have a two-week option for UVXY going into February 7th. Yeah, I took the first one. I'm not managing the second because it's not an amount that I really care to lose. If I want to, I could scale in again, but I'm not trying to do that because I know that we're in a short squeeze. So I'm just like, hey, if that 250 can make me some money, I'm cool with that, right? I'm using lower than my minimum, and I'm potentially not going to scale in here because I don't want to scale in and then we end up squeezing more, right? That's kind of the problem that I noticed in the past years ago when I did short or try to short squeezes. I noticed that, oh, when I added that position, I just kept risking where I should be managing the trade. So it's pretty much this. Like, if we see this, and then we see that, I'll probably be out of the trade. If we see this, and I see like this drop off dramatically, we just lose the 5 again, I'll probably be out of the trade. Yeah. Yeah, you know me, Tina. You know me. Have to take the dogs out. Very important, Ben. Very important, Ben. Have a great weekend. Yes, as well. You as well. Have that. Join me in oil short and DXY long. Be careful with that oil short though, because you got some interesting things happening here. All right. The daily is crossed down. I think you have a counter trend move that could come soon, and the reason that I'm thinking that is because oil, as well as the dollar, are down, but the yields are technically up. They were up. But I guess if those react down, it still could be right. And Trump wants to force oil to go down. So I could see, I could kind of look at US oil and go, there are some things that are saying like, hey, we're trying soon maybe to see a counter trend move for a moment here. That's all. Oh, you're short from the top, then you're chilling. Right. We look at this 4 hour and you just go, yeah, I'm kind of chilling. Unless that daily starts to curl up, but yeah. That's awesome, Ben. Tell the dogs I say hey. Dropping some knowledge bomb. Knowledge. Hold on. I need a soundboard with Ty Lopez saying knowledge. IWM, someone did mention IWM earlier. Sorry, I'm not getting to that right away. Very, very nice. Yeah, we're still looking at IWM, noticing that never crossed down, noticing another upward move can come, and then we got to see what happens. This is why this will be very difficult to short just by looking at a weekly expected move, right? We got to see signals proven and realize you're in a short squeeze. Thoughts on Wolf? Wolf is something that I would check in on. Wolf, I like this. I like this a lot. You're getting a little tiny flatness there, which means the 2 hour can maybe curl back up. So this 2 hour might curl back up. What does that mean? Higher low, right? We have a low, We have a high. If we make this a higher low, we beat this. Ooh, you start doing this. You start breaking out, retest, get that series of higher highs and higher lows. That'd be great. I don't think it's bad. I just think the daily signal is pretty good. I just think it's not on the RSI perfectly. Right? It's not on the RSI very well. The last time I took Wolf was in here, right? I took Wolf in here and once in here, and both of those, this went to a weekly, created the lower high on the shorter time frames. This one gave you divergence. So both of those, and this one actually didn't even make me money. Like even though it went up, it didn't even make me money. This one did. This is the one that, remember I was testing the theory and I put $50 behind it or something like that. And it went up. I made 1,200%. I was like, what the this is just testing that I'm doing. I haven't seen it pop up in a while for Wolf, so maybe we'll see that today. Maybe I want to see that now. Yeah, you're getting a tiny reaction up, actually. Kind of good. Sometimes that tiny reaction leads into a big reaction. Now, this doesn't mean they're suppressing the stock. This could mean they're either, like, you know, opening positions or closing those positions, right? Could be either one. Oh, wait, no, these are my other charts. What do we want to leave this on? Probably IWM. Let's leave that on IWM. Yeah, IWM's gearing up here. Tesla's been funny all day. I've traded Tesla a lot in the past. Moves on news too often in short term. Seems to ignore long term and short different. I just think Tesla's very hard to trade. At least the past year. I just feel that way. That's just how I feel. And here's the thing. That could just be a gut feeling. And if I'm uncomfortable, I'm not going to sit in front of my computer, take a trade that makes me uncomfortable. Yeah, that's the only thing with that. Thoughts on reducing equity exposure in a retirement account, TIAA, to money market cash, trying to mitigate a correction bear market this year? Oh, that's like, if you have a good chunk of money, that's like some of the best moves that people do, right? Put it in a money market account, put it into something that just makes little percentages over time, right? Or decent percentages over time that's very less risky. And then you wait for everything to play out, and then you sit back and you go, okay, I can just sit and make my little percentages while this drops down, and then I can see this curl back up like it did over here and see something good. You just have to notice that you could be in a time where this hasn't crossed down, right? You could be in a time where this has months to go, right? We could go all the way up into October and end up at higher levels. So you just have to be aware of that. But if you're shifting into those accounts now, you're still going to make, you know, percentages over time with those type of accounts. So I do not think that is bad at all, Oscar. Am I going to suggest you do that? I think you have to make that decision for yourself. You know, anything that is something to do with your money, guys, you guys got to make that decision. Do I think it is like dumb? No. Do I think it is smart? Potentially, yeah. Thank you so much for the $5, Oscar. I really appreciate you being here today. And that's the thing, right? That's just a question of bouncing it off your buddy, right? That's kind of what I like about this channel. Is just like, hey, let's just bounce stuff off each other. Here's my idea. What do you think about it? And then you have to realize, hey, it's your money. You have to make that decision for yourself, right? We're just over here trying to bounce stuff off each other to make good decisions. Appreciate it, Oscar. Thank you. I hope FFIE stays up. What did FFIE do? Oh, 2-hour rejection. Very nice. For a higher low as well. This is one that I got down in here. That was the last time I saw it. I actually didn't catch the full move, though. Yeah, I didn't catch the full move. But those are just little plays that I'm doing some stuff with. So I still want to do this. Short. All right, we haven't seen that tick up yet. If that crosses, though, you got a surefire thing that, or at least not surefire, right? You have a good probability that you're going to see maybe one of these moments again, which means that you could see potential upside. That could happen very rapidly. Look how rapidly it happened. So just be aware. Looking for good signals most of the time. See, the SPY hasn't done it yet. The SPY hasn't done it yet. hard to learn to manage your emotions. Downsize the position a lot. That will help with your emotions, right? When there's less money at risk. Here's the thing. If you have let's say you have a small amount of money, and I'm not suggesting you do computer death. I'm not suggesting that by any means, right? I'm not suggesting anyone has a small amount, but let's say you have $10,000. Well, if $10,000 is like the most money that I have right now, maybe it's even bigger than my bank account right now, right? If $10,000 is all I have, losing that will cause me to panic, right? If I go from having $10,000 and that's the most that I have to zero, that would really cause me some problems. So something you can do right away to manage that emotion is just downsize your positions. Don't be risking the $10,000. You don't have to make $1 million in a day like everyone on YouTube and all the videos that people put out there say you should do. The surefire way to know, hey, am I going to be successful in markets is, am I learning as I go? Am I learning from my mistakes? Am I creating good habits? And am I understanding risk management? And you have to understand that from the get-go. And so what you want to do right away, a risk management thing that I don't think a lot of retail people do, is look at the amount of money they have. If it's $1,000, $10,000, you have to realize that options is a very risky thing. And that's going to cause you a lot of problems emotionally. So if you downsize that completely to say 10% and say, I'm only going to do options with 10%. Well, then now, what is the chance, if I'm only going to trade with 10% of what I have, say $1,000, what is the chance that I'm going to lose $9,000? Zero. Zero. The answer to that is zero. You have a 0% chance to lose $9,000 if you are not risking the $9,000. That's one. It's great. Hey, that's fine, Willow. You do what you got to do. I'm just talking about if you're having trouble managing those emotions. See, so maybe try smaller amounts. Yes, and then the next thing I need to do is understand something. And something that I would do a lot of the time is just try to get good at daily charts. You don't have to start trading just because you saved up money and you watched a couple of YouTube videos. Maybe I just want to start trading when I see, this go down to bottom Bollinger and everyone's really bearish, and then we cross up into positive territory. And then I would say, okay, they're wrong. Maybe that's what I want to do. Maybe I just want to swing. Maybe I want to swing trade, and I want to understand, hey, when this crosses up and the price action gets above this, that's pretty bullish. And then over time, I can get better. And maybe I don't even do options for that. Maybe you just do $1,000 and you just say, okay, I'm going to trade this. I'm going to take the SPY here on the cross up or on the actual good confirmation, and I'm going to go up to what? Maybe a weekly expected move and make 2.42% in 2 weeks. That is very, very good. It's not going to look like a ton of money in your account, but it's very, very good. All right, and then what you do after that is you go, okay, now what can I learn on a little bit deeper level to know that this is a good position to take for, say, 1 to 2 months? Well, I can look at 2-hour, 30-minute charts. I can look at 2-hour, 30-minute charts, and that's all we did on this channel, and we understood the behavior. Understanding behavior, understanding there were not big reversal signals up here, and understanding that this was most likely to get people very bearish, and then understanding and looking at the options data being like people are very bearish, then you can see a reversal signal and take an opportunity, right? Most of it is just about patience, honestly. If I was patient all throughout this time, maybe you didn't understand what we were saying down here at the lows, but it proved out to be right, and you can go, okay, that did curl up. Where is he targeting? What's he saying? Well, let me learn about these monthly expected moves. Hey, this is where the options data is saying we're priced in to go. I'm seeing it cross up here. Guess how many points that is for an option? Okay. Awesome. Month, 2-month call. Maybe you even just put the call, if you have lower amounts of money, you can put it at 610 or 611. Once you hit that, you go, okay, that's where I'm supposed to take my money off the table. This is like, it's almost like black. It's like if you're gambling at the casino and you're just taking a good opportunity, right? If we want to treat it that way, and then you win, and then you're like, all right, oh yeah, I'm gonna keep risking my money. It's like, no, that's how people lose money in that. keep with us here, Computer Death. All right, maybe we can think about managing those emotions a little bit more. One thing that can help you out in managing those emotions are if you have lower time to expiration, your things can lose value quicker. They can gain value a little bit quick. But I can tell you right now, ever since I extended out my expirations, I've made almost the same amount of money, and I've felt completely comfortable the entire time because it gives me the opportunity to take profit as the stock goes up. Very, very nice. And now just pay attention to what is the most likely thing. If you're always just like, what's the most likely thing and what would be the easiest trade? Those are two very good questions. It really just comes down to where's the next opportunity. The next good, high risk to reward, high probable opportunity. Well, all you have to do is understand where we're at. We're at a monthly expected move outside of a weekly. You understand the positioning of the MACD is extremely high. You are very, very bullish with no reversal signals up here. And you have an RSI that's really high. So do I want to be like, yeah, this is going to go to 620 right now? It's possible it happens. It's just not the most probable thing. The most probable thing is we pull back. And when I say that, people try to short. And that would be, to me, trading kind of against the trend, right? I'm successful with that. People are successful with that. But for more about like, hey, I want to manage my emotions. Well, I want to say, okay, I'm taking profit at a monthly expected move. 2-hour pullback is the most probable thing. Anytime that this curls back up, if I see a little 30-minute divergence, I'll be happy. And I can say, all right, this is the next move that takes out this high, goes and makes a new one. When that does happen, I can look at the next weekly expected move. I can target that and I can say, okay, good trade. You just need more time, I think. I think you need more time. And I would say if you have time, if you have the ability to have time, if you're young, right? Especially if you're young, if you have money saved up and you have a good chunk of money, you have time. You can make money very quickly if you just wait, be patient, and look for the best opportunities. Yeah. Man, I was always stressed out with shorter dated options. Sure, sometimes I made 300 to 400%, but I also lost 70 to 100% sometimes. Better to not be stressed. Exactly. Right? That's why you see volatility drop down. You guys, you see volatility drop down. Is that good for my trade right now? Is this good for my trade right now? I am down 25%. Is that good for my trade right now? No, that's bad. Are my emotions going through the roof? No. Why? Because I understood that this is a short squeeze. I understand that I'm taking something that's contradictory to what's happening right now. I understand that risking a large amount of money in a short squeeze is just silly if I'm going against the short squeeze. So I'm going, okay, cool. I understand what I'm getting into. I know the plan, and it's just my job to do that. Dollar's going down dramatically, Joey. So that kind of is saying interesting things. I wanted to see if this little 30-minute would pop up. Weirdly enough, the 30-minute divergences here did help us with that trend move. So I am paying attention to this, right? And I'm looking at this 2-hour going, are we going to violate here? And you kind of have, so that's very interesting. So the only thing you really have is this little blip in here. If we extend to a 4-hour, we can look at that and just see that is dropping off. So if we do get a reaction for this, is adding more credibility to this will just be a pullback. This is adding even more credibility to if we do pull down, it is likely a pullback. And from this dollar move, we actually would say that is people going out of cash and into assets. So actually, that could end up being some positivity in markets if that money is flowing into the SPY and the Qs. Very, very cool. Yeah, Computer Death, I appreciate the question. And you got to figure out what you're not comfortable with, and you got to write those down, and then you got to try to become comfortable with the things that make you a strong trader. And that's the big thing. And a lot of that is just understanding how stocks move. Like not being the person when you're extremely overbought on a 2-hour to say, yes, this is bullish. And more so this is bullish, but this is not something I would risk money behind to go up. And something that will really help you out are monthly expected moves, because it blatantly shows you almost risk to reward with a 68% confidence. So what does this tell us right here? What is the reward for the month? That Look where we're at. That's your reward for the month, according to the 68% zone. What is the risk for the rest of the month? That's the risk. Reward, risk. If you're talking about it in dramatic standards. So yeah, that's something very, very nice about monthly expected moves that we do like. Just a small position in volatility, very like less than my minimum. I am not someone who likes to short squeeze, but I saw a bunch of people buying volatility and I got jelly and I had to buy some with my profits from this move. So we are risking literally 250. Like down here, this trade, hey, like $1,500 risk. Up here, I'm not wanting to go against this trend too much, but just in case something bad happens, volatility's creating a base, so hey, 250. Reverse out of the short squeeze today are impossible as people expect it to go down. Do people expect it to go down? Can you tell me real quick, why do you think people expect it to go down? And I'm genuinely asking. I'm not trying to like trick you and tell you something. I just want to see what is the data you're looking at that suggests people want it to go down. I just want to know. And then we can go look at it, you know? We can go look at it. Because I'm seeing divergences. I'm seeing a double top. So do people want this to go down? Do people want this to go down? Once again, do people want this to go down? Seriously, because the data that I just looked at kind of says the opposite. Who said it? Do you believe JP Morgan caller 6165? Well, JP Morgan has that oh shoot, they do that funky position like every quarter or something like that, right? So JP Morgan actually has that up towards, is it 6165? I feel like people buy it high, take their profits and let it drop back down to 140. Yes, okay, so that's what you're talking about. Yes, you have that risk. Now, you don't want to treat that, by the way, and it's something that I mean, you can talk about it, but in that area, you just want to understand that can be a volatile area. I thought it was up towards 6,200 though, but I might be mistaken. I might have to go look. So if we get there, you would just expect some chop or some resistance. Yeah. Because they what did they do? They sold calls there, if I'm not mistaken. Logan, let me see your comment here, Logan, and we're gonna go back to Nvidia for you, buddy. I feel like it's well, the reason that you're seeing these like sporadic drops that then just get bought up, a drop that gets 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 bought up, a drop if it gets bought up, is because you're potentially you're definitely in positive gamma here. Right, so if you're in positive gamma, a lot of the time you'll notice that what does Wall Street want to do? They want to rip the thing higher, sell that thing, get it to a lower level, buy it again, sell the high, buy it again, sell the high, as long as people keep shorting it. Now, but what I'm going to tell you now is this. I'm going to show you something. You just said everyone wants the Nvidia to go down. The important thing is not what people say. The important thing is what people do. What people do. In every aspect of your life, everything is important what people do. If you're a girl out there and some douche has been telling you he's not cheating on you forever and he loves you and everything's great, but then you find out he's been sleeping with your best friend forever, you're probably like, I don't really care what he says. I care about what he did. And I'm telling you right now, as of today, people were bullish. At least more in the middle, if not leaning towards the bull side. Look at the calls. And you're kind of in that pin between 140 and 148 you're talking about. Let's look out. Are people bearish? Well, next week, they're bullish. 152.50, 162.50. So right away, we're going, now that can still cause positivity, right? Because that's a bullish sentiment. But you just said people want this thing to sell off. I don't see that. I see the opposite. But sometimes when it's the opposite, though, you actually experience the sell-off, right? That's why I want to go look at data. HYG is showing strength. That's a bullish thing for the market. I think that's a bullish thing for the market. But as it shows strength, let's just talk about how it can go wrong. Right, Joey? I'm going to be devil's advocate. Right, because devil's advocate, if you can create a little, I created a little Lucas devil's advocate. When I get excited about something, I go, oh, this is bullish, this is bullish, this is bullish. Well, let's really look at this. Okay, for this, let's look at the SPY on a 30-minute, and let's look at what it was doing, say, yesterday. Yesterday, the SPY was breaking out and going to higher levels and creating that point. Okay, awesome. What was HYG doing yesterday, though? Well, HYG yesterday was not doing that. It was not making the new high intraday. We can see that very simply by looking at the end of the day. It was not making that new high. Now it is. It's actually catching up to the SPY, which is a bullish sign, but the SPY has already done it. So if, I'm going to be devil's advocate here, if this starts to turn down, or if the SPY turns down first, maybe HYG will follow. And that's where I would just pay attention to the risk. The risk is that you are holding all the divergence points. See that? The risk is you're holding all the divergence points, and that is really close to the center line. So it tells me what? This is a great move. If we violate those divergences, I can still be in this, but I have to understand if that 30-minute comes down, it's not a good thing. Morning, brother. As I was traveling through Colorado the other day, YouTube popped up and had saying, have you ever felt it was calling from God to invest in real estate? Yeah. Real estate. Man. Gotta love this stuff. Gotta love real estate. Gotta love it. God dang it. But you gotta love it when things are lower. you gotta love it when things are lower. You gotta love it when rates are potentially at least lower, right? That's what I would say about that. A calling from God to invest in real estate. Wait, an ad saying you have ever felt it was a calling. Wait, do you saw an ad that said that? So they're using God to get you to invest in real estate? Man, they're trying hard. Yeah, overall, the housing sector is sick. The housing sector is very sick. Very, very sick. This can come back. This can come back, but right now, it's sick. It's too choppy. Yeah, it's going to be choppy. That's where the fight begins. If you take anything away from this channel, just try to really learn about these monthly and weekly expected moves, because that's where the fight begins. WWJB. I think he'd buy volatility. But Logan, is that what you're talking about? Is potentially the little intraday stuff? We don't like to do that as much, but what I'm looking for are how can people get hurt in the next couple of weeks from Nvidia. And the way that I see it is a pullback. I think a lot of people are going to be talking Wyckoff with Nvidia. I think they're already talking about that with Bitcoin. I'm not a Wyckoff expert by any means, but I kind of know what it looks like, and it kind of looks like that. But yeah, Logan, I hope that that's overall helpful. I hope you're getting something out of this little chat we're having. It's just to say the most probable thing, according to your indicators right now, is that you're going to experience a 2-hour pullback. And I think you're paying attention to the right levels, right? You're paying attention to 140. What's at 140? A gap fill. We just have a little zone kind of in here. We really should make this a zone, but I'm just going to keep it like this for now. But yeah, you're paying attention to the right things. I mean, I don't think people want this to go down right now. I think most people are positioned as of for next week for this to actually go up right away. And that's just the truth of it. That's what it looks like in the options data to me, according to the Max Pain there. I'm not paying attention to Max Pain. I'm paying attention to the calls and the puts. Okay, awesome, Logan. And so there could be an opportunity here. I might be looking at Nvidia later, right? This kind of scares me, and it should scare me. But I know how, if this is going to prove itself, I know how this will end up going lower. That's just if the daily confirms that momentum. If enough sellers come in to push that momentum down, then that can start to go lower to 125. And we'll be paying attention to it. As of right now, the more probable thing is just a 2-hour pullback in some way. If it's brief, if it's bigger, right? If this goes, if we just sell into Wednesday, that could go pretty low. So we'll just be watching. Amazon, really want to pay attention to this now. Why? The rejection has happened. You have gotten a confirmation of the rejection as well. So Amazon, look at the divergence too. Amazon's been great to us. We love Amazon. We loved the bullish trade for Amazon. Look at that. That is down, my friends. Let's look at the MACD. That is a rejection, my friends. You want to make it very obvious to yourself? All right. How close is that 15-minute to the center line? Very freaking close. And it just got significant. So intraday, Dave, it's possible. Just keep it in mind. Intraday, you know, if people are potentially trying to short, and also what they're trying to do, Dave, is think of it this way too. Let's think of mentality. Think of mentality. Well, you got to make that decision, Jamie. I think this could just be a brief pullback. We'll see. So let's think of the mentality here for a second. Dave, let's just do this. So it's a Friday expiration. You're currently in the retail moments of the day, right? The morning. So in the retail moments of the day, do you think they want to convince them to buy puts right now for the pullback that's potentially going to come? Or do you think they want to convince them to take calls? What are you possibly seeing on the SPY the rest of the day? I think we remain at higher, and this is kind of what we're talking about right now. Banana Planet, great name. So what you'd overall be saying, and this is just the psychology. I'm thinking like I'm the market maker. I'm thinking like I'm Wall Street. If I'm going to potentially shoot stocks lower, right? I'm going to sell my positions in order to buy stocks at a cheaper level, possibly even sell out before an event like FOMC or whatever. If I want to do that, but I want to hurt retail in the process, what would I want them to do? I would want them buying calls here. Are they successful with that right now? We have some calls on the SPY. I would really like to hear if I should hold it longer or leave it at 15% profit. You have to make that decision yourself. I can't tell you that info. But I can tell you this. 15 minutes not even curled down yet. 15 minutes not curled down yet. Now, this is our line in the sand kind of for the month. Anything above this is risky as hell. So if you catch the move and it goes like that, you better be thinking about making a decision here. But I'm saying this is not highly probable. I mean, if I was day trade, I'd look at a 5-minute. I don't necessarily see the divergence in the near term, so I'm looking for that 5-minute to confirm. And then anything above this, anything up here, I'm probably taking profit. Yeah. So that's just what I would be looking into. But I don't day trade, and you just have a decision to make here. I think that's a pretty much what you're doing is when you're about to see a 2-hour pullback, you're trying to scrape away some money from the tops here is what it seems like. You could end up being right, and that's fine. And I wish you luck in your play. It's just, I take into consideration risk. I'm more of a position style, so we have a difference there, content snips. But who the heck was I talking to? Banana Planet, I'm possibly seeing the SPY for the rest of the day. So I think what's going on here is during the morning, they're trying to manipulate retail to buy calls, buy calls, buy calls, buy calls. And then you're going to hit a point where towards the end of the day, aka when 30% of the volume comes in the last hour of the day, then you're getting into power hour where big money starts to make their moves. And it's a Friday. So you might see profit taking, you might see positions for the pullback, and you could see more downside by the end of the day. But I think they're going to do it. Now, are they successful in doing so? I would say so. You have a PCC right now of 0.68. I'm going to stick around the streams and try to understand your method of trading. Hey, that's awesome. We don't do 0 DTE, or at least I'm not going to say we. There's potentially people in the chat that do. I do not do 0 DTE. I try to teach people how to manage risk, and some of the easiest things to do are just say, hey, I can make money a little bit slower and give myself that chance to get out of positions if I'm wrong. That's why I do longer expirations. Do what they like with the market right now, and you've potentially snagged stuff up in here, right? A lot of people probably took breakout calls. There were probably a lot of orders here. I need to go potentially look. But what was it? Wasn't it 610? Wasn't it 610 for the SPY? I'm gonna double check. Let's look at some orders for the SPY. For the day, you're actually very bearish today. Very bearish today. So still that bearishness was there. So they don't want to close this at lower levels. But if they close anywhere above 605, they're happy. Right now, 612 and 610. Where are our lines? Are our lines going to help us? Well, this was 610. We saw the selling come in, profit taking most likely there. But if they want to go all the way up to 612, which is a slightly bigger call wall, 41,000 contracts there, 41,000 calls, bam, 612. So they could really get people bullish by heading to that area. Let's look for going into next week's expiration. Next week's expiration has come down actually a little bit there. Has come down a little bit. But I want to show you guys this. And so you can see how this could continue. This could continue. I mean, look at this. This is everyone for next Friday. So do you think a minor pullback that convinces them to double down and hold these positions that then just goes completely wrong for them would mess them up? I think so. I think that if they're holding on to those positions and they see a drop and they're already losing money and they're still continuing to lose money or opening new positions, that they're going to be like, all right, now we're going to tank. And then it just turns back up. The mentality here is what I'm reading into. And I'm reading into the fact that if I wanted to trick people on a Friday, right? I'm just saying if I wanted to trick people and I wanted the people who I'm betting against to be wrong, I would want to hold stocks higher, right? I would want to potentially even risk my money to hold stocks higher, wait for them to get into those positions, wait for the premium of shorts to be lower so they're pretty cheap, and then I would buy potential short positions or take profit in my positions. That's what I would do as a Wall Street guy. Yeah, makes sense, right? Maurice, you changed your picture. You bring it up and dump it at the end. Exactly. That's the mental way. But we have to take this into consideration. Is this something that is very, very good to short? You're in an extremely positive trend. You have I just showed you have a 4.0 put to call ratio for next Friday. This could continue. This could not be done. And I just want to keep that in mind. And the reason that I'm mentioning that is just because of what I've went through in the past and because this channel is about learning and I use my past experiences to talk about it. And my past experience trying to short a short squeeze did not work out. So if I'm going to attempt to do it, I'm going to attempt to do it once with an amount of money that I do not even care about. And if I can make a little scrape of money out of that, hey, fine, that's awesome. I'll have fun with it. But I'm not going to add to that position. I'm going to manage the position when it starts to go really, really wrong so I don't lose all that money. Even though it's a little amount, if you treat the little amounts like you're treating it like a big amount, you're starting to get pretty serious, and that's great. Once a penny becomes as valuable to you as a dollar, it starts to get great. What up, Duranto? How you doing? An increase. Due to the extreme puts that are out there, we have seen people opening those call positions, which is great. You've seen that almost all week. But I just want to be sure, because people were very bearish. Remember, we had a 7-to-1. 7-to-1 put to call ratio going into about February 14th. February 14th expiration, down at the lows. And it seems to me that some people have closed out of these positions. Let's go. Actually, I'll go pull it up. Let's see if people closed out of those this week. Here's the 7th. The 7th. The 7th was a 7.0. Right now, you're at a 6.6. So that means out of the 7 people, only 1/2 of a person got out of their put positions according to today's data. So do you think this could continue and be very irrational for longer than you can remain solvent shorting it? Yes, it can. I still think this, though. I still think a 2-hour pullback is the most likely situation. It would convince those people on February 7th that they can hold on to those positions, and then you get good news from the Fed. Bam. They're all done. Right? That's I think the most likely scenario. Because if stocks start to come down, those people won't sell out of those positions. If they sell out of those positions now, this can just explode. But I think Wall Street wants cheaper prices first. That's just my take. Now we got to see if it proves, right? None of that could happen. We just got to see if it proves. OI, usually that means open interest. I don't know exactly what you're looking at, Logan, but I kind of am assuming that you're looking at open interest because that's OI. High chance earnings would be good, plus buy into strength. The fact that banks had good earnings has a good shot for some good earnings, but it's just hard to pick the winners and the losers. So sometimes during earnings, I actually do trade the SPY and the Qs more. Looking at the options chain on Charles Schwab. Yeah, that's open interest. So you want to look where open interest is kind of focused. That's kind of where you look at the call walls, you look at the put walls and things like that. Well, I'm looking at the MACD. The main thing I'm paying attention to is just when this crosses. And the other thing I'm paying attention to is what does the bar that crosses it look like? So the reason that this was a great trade was because this crossed, you have the divergences at the lows, and you have a green bar above the 9. That's great. That means, hey, we can attempt to take back the 5. And look at that gap. That's kind of what it is. So the blue line is more so following the price action. This is your signal line, if you will. That's your kind of the one that you want to look for the trigger. This is like your average, right? You're kind of like an average. And then you want to see when it's above the average. Yeah, so the blue line just follows tighter. So you just, like, I'm trying to put it in a very basic understanding here. And it's just, hey, I crossed the signal line. That means we're shifting in some way here. The sentiment, the momentum is shifting in some way. It's getting above that average. Yeah. Is it better to take it on Monday or Friday? From my experience, Monday and Friday might be the 2 days that I'm looking for things. It's usually like, I would say it's like late Thursday and early on in the week. I think early on in the week is the best time, usually. Because a lot of the time, if you see something like this, early on in the week, we could see that pullback. And that means that calls will start to get cheaper throughout the week. So then they're potentially buying those Friday ones to get up to higher prices. But I don't read into that as much. I just look at the chart in front of me. I just feel like people care about too much information. Too much information doesn't necessarily make you smarter. What you want to see is, hey, if the stock is dramatically down with divergence, most likely calls are cheap. At least cheaper. Now, if you're trading something like Tesla, that could not be the case. If you're trading AMC and GME, that could not be the case. But usually up in these levels, potentially puts could be cheaper. Now, that could be not true right now as people are still holding on to those short positions at the lows. But keep that into consideration. But as of right now, you would say puts are potentially cheaper than they were down here. Yeah, so if you want the actual, I mean, you just click into it, you go here, and you would say, okay, the fast length is 12, the slow length is 26. Smoothing line is 9. Right? So then you can look over here and you go, okay, that's my signal line, and that's my MACD. Yeah, if you just look into what's actually making up your indicator, you can really just really focus on, hey, what do these things actually mean? If I want to just understand basic, just to understand what these things are, okay, that's your MACD, that's my signal line. And if you want to, you can make the, this 0 line marked off, right? You can mark that off with a nice red dotted line or something like that. I don't do that because I think it's that white dotted line is perfectly fine. Trade almost noontime. Holy smokes, are they suppressing? It's hard to see. You can look at this to see if they're doing anything with it, but this doesn't really tell you a ton. Normally, if this is ticking up, then they are doing something funky with the stock. It is ticking down, so you don't see a lot of that happening. You're gonna have to wait to see the next data point. You only get this every single day. I'm sure you can go purchase or find a platform where you can see that data. but you don't want to be like, oh, they're suppressing the stock. You can say they're suppressing the stock, but they are risking money. Like, we still say that. They're suppressing the stock by risking money. They think it's worth it to suppress the stock by risking money at this level? Potentially, right? If the 2 hour crosses, then you would say, yeah, there are more people selling or going short than maybe going long. That's all I'd read into. Is the signal good? Like we said with AMC and GME, the signals are not very good. And usually, aka like, I would be willing to put 9 out of 10 times we've seen a signal before a good move. You saw a signal before this drop. You saw a signal before this pop. Right? We saw this signal before Roaring Kitty tweeted. So you're going to see a bad signal if sellers take over. You're going to see this 2 hour cross and maybe end up at lower levels. And then if you see this happen, watch out. You might get some news. 2 hour divergence is pretty damn strong for a base. Yeah. I would always be open to the fact that be like, yeah, sellers are trying to take control. AKA, they're trying to push the stock down, right? They think the stock will go down, and if they have enough people that believe that, enough people sell, and enough people take short positions, the stock can go down. Yeah. So anyone that is telling you that this right now is a very, 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 very strong base, they have the opportunity to be corrected. This does not say strength. I'll tell you what does. Let's go look at Nvidia. Compare the MACDs to Nvidia. We'll do this. We'll do an hourly chart. We'll go over to Nvidia. Which MACD do you think is better suited to head higher over time? This one or this one from what we have right now? If this curls down, I showed Nvidia because it's already curled down. That is more positive. This is more in a positive trend, right? The positive trend area. Nvidia is here. GME is here. So which one is better as of right now to potentially see a pullback but continue? This one. Which one is worse? And that pullback could be more than a pullback and you could head lower. GME. Yeah. Lost so much money in the past year. Markets stay irrational longer than one could stay solvent. Yeah, that's a saying I heard. It's like a quote from someone that I think I read, and I was like, damn, that is the perfect way to explain a short squeeze. It is the perfect way to explain a short squeeze. Now, the actual way to explain a short squeeze is just this. This made people bearish. They still had bearish positions. We saw a pop. They held on to them. They said, oh my gosh, I was right. So then they get more bearish and they go, okay, that's really bearish. Then they go like this and then it comes back down. They go, see, I was right. And then they get more bearish and more people and more people and more people and more money and more money. And then they start to get slightly wrong. And some of those people go, and these people probably go, oh shoot, this is reversing. I should get out of those positions. We go a little higher. Then we go a little higher and then these people go, oh no, I should probably get out of that position. Looks like we're kind of going higher. And then they get out of that position. And then we go a little bit higher. And then at the high here, then these people start to go, oh crap, because this is the dumbest place to take short positions. Not to trying to offend anyone. I'm just speaking very truthfully. And then we go a little bit higher. And do you know what happens to these people, and these people? These people start to short here. Actually, potentially these people start to short here. These people start to short here. And these people start to short here. And these people will just continue to make the wrong decision the whole time. And that's how you get liquidity. That's how you get liquidity for this to happen. And them closing out of the positions forces stocks to go higher. Pretty awesome. It's very cool. Happy 420. Can we look at MSOS? Yeah, let's look at that for you. All right, Justin, thank you so much for the 420. First of all. And second of all, you're showing me a decent little stock here. You're showing me something very interesting. What is this? Advisor shares Trust, advisor shares, pure U.S. cannabis. All right, that's why the 420's there, huh? Sounds like me, Jose. Hey, that's awesome to say. I'm actually glad that someone admitted it. If you're being serious, Jose. I know you're probably joking around a little bit, but if there's any kind of seriousness behind that, it's a good thing to say out loud. It's a great thing to say out loud. Because it means that at least at some level, even if you're doing it with humor, you're trying to hold yourself slightly accountable for the decisions you're making. And just know, once you start to do that on a joking level, you might start to do it on a serious level, and you might start to implement change. And maybe you're changing, and change in thought will come as well. It's great. So, this is good. Look at that. This is good. You can't say that this is bad to me. You cannot say it. You were heading down rapidly, you taper off, it doesn't work out. But then you hold pretty damn well here. And you got to be paying attention. Hey, this thing can still fail. That's not good. But this hasn't confirmed up yet. I want to see the price action give me a solid confirmation like this. And then it's got a shot. It's got a shot to see the daily reject off of this, not confirm more downside, but actually start to head in the upward direction. You know what this tells me? This little part in here, it tells me I'm a base. And I'm going to make an attempt to maybe go test in here. If I can beat that, I can maybe start that series of higher lows and higher highs. That's what this is saying. You have divergence on the daily. That's telling us what? That's telling us the weekly might cross up. Where's the weekly position though? Pretty low. So should I expect this to go like wham? You know, it can. But the positioning of the MACD would say, oh, I might want to watch out towards 483, and I might want to watch out towards 627, and that's the truth of it. I wouldn't be reading into this. This is a lot of time. That's a lot of time, right? So I wouldn't be reading into this in any way. I'd just be like, okay, what does it look like here? Okay, it looks like we have signals that could turn up the weekly. So this might be like, hey, I could take a chance here. I don't know if it's like the best option play, but you could get some kind of reaction here, I think, to test 483 if you can beat these levels. It's more of, it's hard to recognize, and weirdly enough, until you're pretty versed, I think, in the MACD and understand why a short squeeze could happen. I think that's huge. A short squeeze can happen because people were so bearish here. That's one. That's going to be your main indicator, is being able to research and be like, how bearish are people while I'm seeing reversal signals, right? That's one. The other thing is, I want you to look at the MACD, and I want you to notice the messy divergences. You have them, but they keep violating the divergence. That's huge. So the only way to really see, like tell based on indicators, I'm sure there's something you can tell that there's some kind of short squeeze happening, is by just noticing, oh, I keep violating, and every single time that I turn down, I'm not even seeing a pullback to the 5. I'm just gapping up, gapping up, gapping up, or just seeing this trickle up of buying. Sellers are not able to take control, which means shorting it will be difficult. So the main thing that we always say is you keep violating the divergences. And we were even paying attention to this, right? We were seeing them getting violated on the 2 hour here for this, and you're getting all these even readings. Every single time that curls back up, uh-oh, you're seeing squeezing. The only way to really know this though is to have time under your belt and just be like, okay, obviously, I'm getting divergences. Obviously, the indicator is pointing in the downward direction, but the price action keeps going up, and we keep violating every divergence point on the RSI. That's the best you can do, as far as I would say. Is Palantir a short squeeze? Most likely, yes. And I'm going to tell you one simple reason why Palantir might be a great example. How many times have you reloaded? How many times have you reloaded at the 5 during this run? Can someone answer that for me? What up, a realtor named House? How's it going? Yeah, Allie, and I wish it could be better than that, but it will take you some time to notice that. Something better will just be realizing the positioning of people here, and if they're overly bearish while you're seeing reversal signals, we see that. Suri, perfect answer. 0 times. Do you know how much liquidity you need to keep that going? A decent amount. And yeah, I would say that these people going underwater here was the decent amount. And 1, 2, 3 times the charm. Bam. You never retested the 5. This is very, very squeezy. And it's so squeezy, you haven't even started to turn down the MACD at all yet. Like, this MACD is not pointing down. So you're actually seeing buyers step in strongly here. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the volume's not terrible. It is going down. And now it's starting to reach those low levels it's been at before. But look at Palantir, why it's still hard to short, even with the volume extremely low. Let's not take today, let's take yesterday. I want you to notice, look at that line across. Look at the times where it was really, really low right here. What ended up happening? It still went up. Then finally, sellers step in, sellers take control. It still goes up. Yeah, it's just very difficult to short. And I think Palantir is one of the most difficult stocks to short for a long time. But yeah, you're starting to see volume decrease a little bit there. You can see that in a short squeeze too, Ali, if you're paying attention to that. You can see volume start to kind of dry up. I'm a base. Yeah, so Ali, what I would say is trade the plan, stick to the plan, right? Trade the plan, or what is it? Plan the trade, trade the plan. The plan was, we realized how bearish people were getting at these lows, at this low, and then extremely at this low. 7.0 put to call ratio for 3 weeks out. That's really bearish. So if it would go wrong for them, that would be bad. And we did make a base here. Very good base. And that right there, that's all you need to trigger the short squeeze. A gap above 590 is all you needed. Remember, we were paying attention to 590 all the time. What'd you do? You gapped above it, retested it, you never went back since. So where could we gravitate to? Well, if it's dramatic, we gravitate to that level, but I don't even know if it'll be that dramatic. I think we could just do this. Yeah. I'll have to look into it because I haven't thought about that too much. I've just traded enough of them to where I'm like, oh, this has potential to short squeeze, and then I just see it and I go, yeah, we're short squeezing. You know what I mean? So I'll try to put it into words a little bit better some other time, maybe when I have to kind of sit and think about it without being live. Just have to sit and think, you know, and be like, how do I make this understandable to people? And maybe I can prove it in the chart a little bit. Where do the level lines come from? Which lines? Say a color, Jack, if you don't mind. Really, really, it makes me think of Zoolander. I know, I started saying that because we talked about Zoolander a little bit. Really, really ridiculously good looking. I repositioned my VIX plays, took some profits from SVIX, enjoying the profits from crypto, and I'm out for the weekend. Something I thought was interesting was Moodang. I thought Moodang was interesting, actually. 2-hour divergence, very steep here. So I'm really interested if this daily is going to end up curling up for Moodang. And it's gonna, and then next week maybe people are going to be like, blah, Moodang. He's coming for your profits. That's so funny. Oh, good old Moodang. The only thing that's interesting is the dollar dropping off dramatically. That's what's convincing me, like, oh, maybe this thing does head higher, because we still have those high put-to-call ratios. If there are some things that can push the market higher. I mean, if you look at Tesla and this thing starts to go higher, then the market can go higher. If you look at Apple and that starts to participate, that can go higher. So there are some things. Got out at the top. Woo! Went from 20% down to 8% profit. Gonna call it a day. That's all right. You know, don't ruin the weekend. You know, content sniffs. At the end of the day, money's money, but if you ruin your whole weekend, you're just gonna be upset. And it's like, that's your free time. And then you're gonna go right into, oh, I'm upset on Friday with the trade. I'm upset over the weekend, and then I'm upset when I start trading the next day. It's not a good mentality there. I used to just get out of plays every single Friday. I had a moment in time where I did that. That was when I was very stressed out all the time. You know, we were moving. We moved from here to Georgia. Found out we got pregnant. Moved back to here. didn't have a place to go because no one will allow my dogs. Then we had to find a place, move into a place, and all during all that time, I was growing a YouTube channel, you know, for potentially like the first real YouTube channel that I've tried to grow, and trying to help people out with markets. So, yeah, I appreciate you guys who are here during those times sticking it through, because I know sometimes we were like only live for an hour, and I was like, I gotta go. I mean, we had a whole 2 weeks where I wasn't live. I wasn't even posting videos because of the moves and prepping for baby girl. So thank you guys for sticking with me through that. The USD, that's one thing that is kind of worrying me. Still, is that data? Ooh, no confirmation from the 30-minute here. Hold on. For you day traders out there, that's not a good bar. Oof. I know USD was kind of like making a base, and they just gave it all up. That's not a good bar. If that can wick up, maybe, but that's not happy. That's saying potential for a lower high that can reverse the trend now. So now we, you know, if that posts in about 50 seconds, we'd be looking, hey, do we cut this low? Do we retest breakout, or do we head to daily expected move? Yo, who just said they got out? Content Snips, did you get out right before this? Because holy what a sell, man. For a 0 DTE, what a damn sell. We gotta clap for Content Snips if he's doing that, because wow. That's a rough one for a lot of people. I'm sure a lot of people were like a lot of day traders probably saying, okay, we've got this retest and boom, we're gonna go test this high, and we didn't even go make it to the wick. We didn't even make it to the closing bars. Damn. Well, that's the thing, Jack Katz. So something we're watching now, and something that you guys should keep in your mind that Jack Katz is saying is, we went up really fast. What's a very easy way to tell that we went up very fast? The gaps. The gaps. The gaps. The gaps. We have a ton of gaps. Most likely you are going to fill at least one, if not two. Day traders got slaughtered. I think they did right there. I was seeing if the PCC would shift at all with that, or if they're going to hold on to those calls. Content Snips, correct. Yeah, how much money did you have in that trade? Jeez. Content Sniffs. Ooh, is that some content? Ah, yeah. Yeah, how much money did you have in that trade, Content Snips? Damn, you just sold on everyone. Quit rug pulling everyone, Mr. Snips. Wait, monumental. Wait, you just changed your name? Oh, God, now it's going to be confusing. 25K? Hey, not bad. That's pretty decent. That's pretty decent size. For a day trade? Damn, that's a size, dude. Well, congratulations on the 8%. I'm glad that you weren't a part of that moment. Because that might convince you to do something. That might convince you to get out of plays. Now, next thing is, do we cut the low? Do we start the series of, is this actually a lower high? Just 2K profit. Hey, that's not bad. You're probably liking that before the weekend. Now you're like, good weekend. Give me 1 moment here, guys. I'm gonna leave you on this 5-minute chart. I just gotta take a capiche. Gotta take a capiche real quick. All right, guys, be right back. If you need daily expected moves, by the way, they're on Patreon. Damn. I just came down and I was like, shit. My Husky German Shepherd be shedding like crazy the last like few days. Gotta go get the vacuum. Apple, what are you doing, man? Man, if Apple's telling you something, maybe it's saying something's wrong. I still want to keep that in mind. So this is really sick. You would expect to really be able to hold here. I wonder if we just move sideways. I have puts. I love the, I don't know why. Sometimes when someone's just like, I have puts. I think they're like some shy dude, like, I have puts here. Spy's trolling. Nah, Spy's just squeezing. It's doing exactly what it does in a squeeze. Especially potentially even towards the end of the squeeze. Get people even more bullish, more bullish, more bullish. Oh, it can't come down, it can't come down, it can't come down. Might not yet. You still have a, you know, according to February 7th, you still have a 4.0 put to call ratio. Did I look at the next week after that? Sorry, for the 7th of February, you have a 6.6, my bad. That's my bad. Next week, you have a 4.4. Next week, I'd be watching 590 now. Actually, this can really help us. If we are going to see a dramatic pullback, I'd be really seriously watching 600, 595, and 590. 590 is massive, so 590 is what I'm really looking at now. I wonder if they close those positions today. Like, I wonder if a lot of people close those positions today. And then they're just like, you ever have that time? I'm sure some people were like that when you weren't as good of a trader, maybe, where like you're like, this looks like this is gonna drop, this is gonna drop, this is gonna drop, and you're short in the short squeeze. And then right when you're convinced, like, oh, it's not gonna drop anymore, then you see the move happen and you're just pissed. Oh my gosh, dude, I remember some of those moments. This is why it's rough one to short. If you're right and you see a dramatic drop, no one really I don't think many would see that coming at this point. Plenty of time, says Chris. Chris is like, that's just a Tuesday for me, dude. This will be great, though, if we go to 590, because if we end at higher levels and we have a weekly expected move at 590, that would be awesome. Nearly cooked my account that way. Well, let's treat it like a learning experience. With a stop loss at that yellow line, it's not rough. Hey, not a bad idea, Ben. I kind of like it. I kind of like that idea. That's not bad. I don't think I ever really mentioned that, but yeah, that's not bad. It's like 50% of the time I lose money, 100% of the time. Yeah, it's not fun when it's happening, and that's kind of why we have the section in the course that's really about like, hey, this is where you know things are going wrong, right? At least we give you reasons for the trade, but we give you reasons where you're like, this shit can go really wrong right now, and it can really help you out over time, especially during a squeeze. All you have to do is see like, where's my mouse? Oh, my mouse is on the other screen. You can see something like this and just be like, oh yeah, this isn't the right time. Or more so, this right here would be, you manage the trade and you go, yeah, we're squeezing. You'd go, oh yeah, I'm shorting here for a minor pullback, and then you would see that gap up and be like, oh, we're not doing that. Hey, that's fine, Chris. It takes plenty of time to learn. It's just that's learning the hard way, you know. After 3 years, I finally was like, all right, guys. All right. I've let them trick me enough. Let me try to do things a little differently. Maybe I'll write everything I'm doing down right now and just do the exact opposite. Sorry, I want to go over to these charts actually, because these are I want to look at volatility. Volatility is still not curled up on the 30-minute just yet. So you see how that trap potentially is forming. Dollar really dropping off. One thing I wanted to look at was JPY. USD. Yeah, there you go. So the JPY gaining some traction here. That is to be expected with the raising of rates there, the BOJ decision yesterday. So that is to be expected. That could be why the dollar is seeing some weakness there. We won't read into it too much. I think we're more just reading into the charts here, like more just the SPY, what's actually happening going forward. SOS. Oh, you were typing Moss, Ben. Wait, who was typing Moss to me? Someone was typing Moss, and I was just like, what? All right, you looked at, went up. Looks like it could be a nice to look candy. Yeah, this one was fun. I don't think this was bad. It looks nice. On certain charts, right? It looks nice. I kind of wish for this. I kind of hope before that 2-hour crosses, you get the ability to see the higher low or a 30-minute divergence. That's the best ones. That's the best and the ones that make me feel safest. You know, sometimes I just want to feel safe in a stock's arms. And if it would give me a higher low here, that's when I'd feel pretty safe, because then that 2-hour has a very good shot to curl up. It could just happen right now, but I would like the hint. Right now, this still looks consolidative. So I wonder if we're going to still make that move. Get people even more bullish. This is just wild. People are bullish for a long time. You see some people placing the bets to short this thing. You see those little times. But overall, a lot of calls coming in near term. HGX not confirming the move higher. Oh yeah, wasn't I going to tell you guys what I like to buy at the lows if I'm going to buy something this time around, what I'm looking at? Cannabis scheduling was delayed. Top 5 equities there are not net negative. I don't know. It's very risky, that MOS, but I'll look at it. Yeah, I think it's risky, but it's kind of like, you know, that just means what? Like if I see good signals and I think it's risky, maybe I just don't do options. I think my day trading days are over as of today. Hey, that's perfectly fine to say. That is perfectly fine to say. I totally understand. Short squeezes cause that to happen for a lot of people. Short squeezing is difficult for day traders to really capitalize. Actually, it depends. It kind of depends. You know, if you have daily expected moves and you just see it beat the previous high, you go, okay, cool. You know, you can think of it very simply, but it's like, do I have that time in the market to really be able to think like that? Yeah, what I like to buy, what I'm going to buy is potentially nail home builders. I want you to look at home builders for an investment opportunity down towards, I have my levels 491 and 1840. These were great areas to purchase. So the blue line is my don't look and buy. That's my don't look and put $10,000 in. That's that blue line. Everyone trying to do 0 DTE. It's just, you're easily, like, you want to talk about manipulation. It does not take a lot of money. Manipulation happens with money. They have to bet against you, kind of, but they have more money than you. So 0 DTE, you don't have any time to react, and you don't have a lot of people with you, right? If you're taking a month out trade, technically you'll have a month of volume behind you, right? So it's just different. RGTI is nice. I like RGTI, man. Oh, look at that monthly chart. Oh my goodness. Wonder if we have a weekly signal or anything. Yeah, just a weekly cross up into positive territory and bam! That was a lot of luck there. But if you were looking at quantum computing, it's probably not. Daily chart hasn't confirmed up yet. We are now hitting that sell zone. We're hitting the resistance zone. So we can go higher, but I want to look at what this thing's doing. It looks pretty strong, so 30-minute here. Okay, we violated the divergence. That's actually a good thing. I still think you want to be aware of a 2-hour pullback. Yeah, I think you still want to be aware of a possible 2-hour pullback if it's going to follow the market. What about TOL? Toll Brothers. As far as investment goes, I would look on a monthly. I'd be like, okay. Yeah, this one's just heading up over time. The reason that I like Nail is because it has that leverage in it, so it has the possibility in a crash to still get to $5. That's why I like Nail. It's a 3x leveraged. So that just tells me that it can still get down to $5. Yeah, that's why I like it. This here on the monthly, this is what I'm looking at right here. I want to look on the weekly. See, on the weekly, this is saying, hey, this thing might be tapped out. Now, it has gotten rid of it. It's retested a breakout area, and it retested it over here as well. So this is where that could turn back up. Daily showing divergence, which means I might have a 2-hour divergence here at the lows for the double bottom. Bunch of little divergences, ends up going positive. Bam. And we're beating this level, which is pretty good, and you're seeing this move sideways, which is also good. This is the sideways. This is how the MACD behaves when you go sideways. And we could do that with the SPY and the Qs, so I'd be paying attention to this right now. This is sideways, right? You have 30-minute divergences that aren't playing out with some drop. They're just going sideways, right? So if this keeps going sideways, maybe it even dips down a little bit to fill a gap, or turns back up, more upside. That's what it's saying. It's saying good positive trend. If that goes wrong, well, then you're going to see dailies cross back down into negative territory. I don't mind it though. I wonder what VIX 9-day looks like today. It was kind of holding some tapering, so I'm just wondering. Okay, so it dipped down to make another point of divergence. So this is where it starts to get like, oof, man, volatility really looks like it kind of wants to pop here. But it's just, are they going to do that intraday, or are they just going to gap things at some point down? I don't think they would gap it down. Unless we're going to see dramatic downside, I don't think we see big gaps. I think we see little gaps with potential for that to turn down. Little gap and then it turns down. I think this could just pull back on the 2-hour within the actual days. LNG, yeah, let's check that out for you, Tony. LNG, and then I gotta take off soon, guys. All right, 2-hour by the center line, you see something like this. We're seeing flatness on the RSI, so I immediately want to go into a 30-minute. 30-minute rejection happening here. Okay, so here's what you know. 30-minute crosses, that's bad. 30-minute, if this can end up turning back up above these levels, it means, hey, I'm gonna make an attempt to go higher than this point here, maybe even the wick. But you have to be aware you're below the 5. If that can get back above the 5 and start that series, right? Higher highs, higher lows, pretty happy with it. And I think that what you're really looking for here is like, can I confirm the 2-hour up? It's a little, like, tiny bit negative here. So I'd just be aware of any rejection. I'd be looking for rejection from gap fill most likely on the 2-hour if that 2-hour curls up. So you have some time there. You're going to mainly have to focus on price action because it's a rejection divergence. I don't mind it. Daily, I know you're seeing this and you're going, uh-oh, but if you really look at this, it's slightly violating actually. If you look at the dotted line, it's like just barely above it and nothing on the RSI really. So this means to me, if this 2-hour can base out, right, maybe we set a 2-hour to go up like this, then we drop down, we see that daily cross, and then we go fill this gap. That would be nice. You get down to here, you curl back up, that'd be some good movement there, man. To curl up again. And then at this point, I'd be watching out for divergence on the daily, but I don't mind it. I think you're just looking for that 2-hour curl up to talk very basically. What are you guys talking about? Just that there's so many bad news lately. You believe Trump will promote any positive with MSOS? The DEA he put in office is really bad for dereg scheduling. Hey, the thing is, you pay attention to charts. If you're going to see bad news, someone's going to move their money and you're going to see momentum curl down. Let me just solidify that, right? Yeah, we'll check on gold, Batty. Yeah, if you're going to see good momentum, then maybe something good's going to happen. But if you're going to see something bad come out, someone will move their money, most likely before that news comes out, just so you're aware. I always like to say it as just like someone gets info before you, so they're going to move their money if something bad is in their holdings and they know about it. So right now, I think you're seeing potential for good things. And if those start to go wrong, you would say, oh, someone probably knows something I don't. As far as it goes for gold, we just want to be aware of some things here, and that's the 30-minute. The 30-minute coming up to this level, once again, almost violating the previous divergence point. That's very good. But this eventually will need that 2-hour pullback, most likely to test something around 250. I like 250. I like where this 2 hours at. I think it's extremely positive. You see a little divergence like that, you're going, yeah, but the positioning of the MACD, I mean, what's the likelihood that this just keeps going, keeps going, keeps going, keeps going, keeps going? You know what that means? That means that the dollar, which is coming down pretty aggressively, would have to completely switch course and just boom to the upside, because that's mainly how this works. But gold, I think you could see a pullback moment down towards 250, and then I'd be happy with that going up. But do I want to short this? This is pretty good price action. So if it wants to hold up, really, I'd more so just be like, hey, do you give me an opportunity to be bullish? Because it's a very bullish trend. All right, I'm going to check IWM and then leave you guys on the spy, and I got to get out of here. So the 30-minute for IWM is able to cross through this high. So we do have daily expected moves. Actually, at the bottom of your screen there, but I'll click over to mine. For IWM, we do have those daily expected moves. We see 231.26. So where should we expect that fight to begin? Well, 231.26. So right about here. So you're looking at about, 1.24 points, 1.2 points. And then we'll see if that can cross back down. It would be a perfect area to set up a divergence. Yeah. So we're just looking. Does that mean I'm going to short it? Well, I know this is short squeezing, so I think that would be slightly difficult. Doesn't mean I can't. As long as I know how to manage trades, I'm pretty confident in you guys, right? I just like to talk very cautiously for people that try to do, oh, this has to go down Monday, so I'm going to take a $10,000 and put it, say, short for Monday. Hey, that could work out. But understanding you're in a short squeeze and you could be totally wrong there just might convince you, hey, let me just be managing that risk a little bit in case we just move sideways, right? That can ruin your option as well. Yeah, Bowdy, appreciate you. All right, guys, I'm sorry to do this to you, but I gotta go. I gotta get the heck out of here. I appreciate you guys being here today. I really, 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 really do. If anyone wants to dedicate themselves to some learning, I think today's stream was fantastic. I think we got some fantastic questions, and I appreciate that. But if anyone wants to dedicate themselves to learning, hey, that course is down there. It's 90% off. You only have like 7 days left to get it. We might leave it open for that weekend like we usually do, but so you might have a little bit more time than that, but just 7 days left. If you have time this weekend to learn, it's a great opportunity. But even if you are going to dedicate yourself to learning, what do I like to say? What do I like to say, guys? Make sure to have some fun. Do something good for yourself. Go eat some good food. Read that book for an hour that you've wanted to read, right? Don't just sit there on social media and go hang out with family. Go eat a nice meal. Have some fun. Make sure you're fueling that brain if you're really dedicating yourself to learning. But overall, tell someone you love them, Tell someone you love them. Go hug your dog. Take your dog for a walk. Go play in the snow. I don't know what you guys want to do, but do something fun, all right? It's the weekend. You don't need to sit there and be thinking about stocks at all times. At the end of the day, you're trying to make money, so you don't have to think about work all the time, right? So I think that's a good thing is even if you're learning, make sure to do something fun and treat yourself a little bit. Especially, here's this. I'll tell you what. If you had a winning trade this week, who in the chat, I know some people might have lost, and that's fine. Who had a winning trade this week, right? Whoever had a winning trade this week. Say, hey, I had a decent trade, right? Maybe you're humble about it. Maybe you're like, and Jay Mai, thank you for subscribing. Maybe you're humble about it. You're like, hey, I had a decent trade this week. That's awesome. Celebrate that for a moment. So just a moment, not too long, right? Don't get cocky. Just be like, hey, I did this. I deserve a nice steak, right? I deserve a nice steak. And that's all I'm saying. If you lost this week, be like, hey, maybe I do need to buckle down on some stuff, but what's important? What's important is my health, so maybe treat yourself to a healthy meal. And then maybe just go back and be like, let me treat this, let me be proactive with this and see what did I do wrong this week, and let me write that down. think that's great. I hope you guys have a great weekend. You know, we try not to do anything silly with some big money moves before a weekend, but I appreciate you guys being here. This is my longest goodbye ever, but I don't know. Maybe it's because we went through something bad this week and I'm still trying to be positive, you know? Oh, God. Make yourself ramen, yeah. All right. See you guys. I hope you have a great time. If Short Fridays is out there, if Short Fridays comes in the chat, make sure he's okay. Usually on Fridays, he's always here. And usually he's shorting on Fridays, right? All right, guys. Peace out. Have a great day. See you later. Oh, yeah. Saturday, we will be putting out a little update video for the macro side of things, just so you're aware. All right, guys. Peace out.